What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 3 nanoseconds Chapter 56 Su Ming. I am Virgo, the partner of justice. Kaido struggled to stand up from the ground, his pair of eyes as big as cowbells were bloodshot. He covered his back vigilantly and looked around, determined to find the guy who made him fail, catch him and tear him into pieces. Come out from behind the wall. Kaido gritted his teeth, not sure if it was out of pain or anger. Su Ming put on a fox mask he bought casually and walked out from behind the wall. The moment he saw the figure, the fire in Kaido's eyes almost burst out. Boy, just stand there and don't move. If Lousy doesn't kill you today, I won't be called Guy. Su Ming looked at Kaido, who was standing still. He raised his head slightly and said condescendingly, "Shut up, pirates. Do you know where this is? G5 base. As long as I, Virgo, am here, I will never allow you to act recklessly here." Kaido was shaking with anger. The other party actually dared to sign up. Okay, very good, Virgo, right? Lousy will remember it. Kaido reached out to pull out the bamboo before dealing with this guy named Virgo. Su Ming didn't give Kaido this chance at all. The 6-style shave was activated instantly, and the armament hockey attached to the leg focused on the lower 3 roots, forcing Kaido to lift his legs and jump to dodge. But with every movement, the thick bamboo stick would stir violently inside the body. Kaido just felt that his whole body became much clearer. Huff, huff, huff. After only a few minutes, Kaido, who was always known for his strong physical strength, began to breathe heavily, and beads of sweat the size of beans fell from his forehead. Su Ming looked relaxed. He didn't even have to actually hit Kaido. As long as he could make him move, it would be considered a critical hit. They are all internal destruction, which is much more useful than emission hockey. Enduring the severe pain, Kaido fought several times with the guy who called himself Virgo. He finally confirmed one thing. This guy had no martial ethics at all and only hit people where they were hurt. What kind of marine are you, kid? Your methods are despicable. Su Ming looked proud, imitating Virgo's appearance, standing straight. I, Virgo, am a righteous partner. There is nothing I can do to deal with pirates like you. Watch out, 6th style. Finger pistol modified. Reaching the moon from the bottom of the sea. The gas bullet hit the bull's eye exactly. Ah, I'm going to kill you. Kaido was completely furious. He finally realized that a short pain is worse than a long one. With Virgo here, it's impossible to pull out the bamboo, so let's kill this guy first. With mace in hand, he rushed towards Su Ming. Under the mask, Su Ming's azure eyes flashed with a cold light. Death perception eye, open, advertisement in the sight. Several thin red lines appeared on Kaido's body, which was his death line. This guy's vitality is extremely strong, and even under the eyes of the death sight, he has very little chance of dying. Su Ming fully unfolded the observation hockey, picked up a saber, and slashed along the deadline. Kaido didn't care about the knife at all. This ordinary sword attack couldn't even break his own defense. Nothing in this world can hurt me, Kaido, except that damn bamboo. Next second. Puff. The saber slashed across, and Kaido's proud physical defense was like a fragile piece of white paper. In an instant, the feeling of death emerged in his heart. Regardless of his injuries, Kaido immediately stepped back and distanced himself from Su Ming. Looking down, he saw a deep knife wound on his chest that was so deep that the bone was visible, and the skin and flesh were turned inside out. How is this possible? Kaido's eyes widened. Su Ming shook the bloodline on the knife and said, "Nothing is impossible, Kaido. Haven't you always wanted to commit suicide? I can fulfill your wish as long as you stand there and don't move." At this moment, in Kaido's eyes, the other party has transformed into a Shinigami and is really going to take his life. No, under the threat of death, Kaido's anger was completely suppressed and he no longer had the urge to take action. This guy's methods are too weird. If I want to take action, I have to wait until I recover. With a roar, the man turned into a giant dragon, flew into the sky on a cloud of flames, and actually ran away. Su Ming looked up at the flying dragon in the sky and shook his head in disappointment. Tisk, is it running away now? Snap. A bloody bamboo fell to the ground from the sky. Su Ming touched his chin and said, "It seems that he hates this bamboo so much that he doesn't even want to keep a souvenir." As Kaido left, the Marines at G5 base began to wake up. Su Ming walked over to Virgo and rolled up his sleeves. Bang! With a slap, Virgo spun around like a top. Advertisement. Virgo woke up in a daze and looked around blankly. This is... Su Ming grabbed Virgo's hand and said, "Young man, I think you have a future. If you hadn't stopped the pirates this time, the G5 base would have been severely damaged." Virgo looked confused. I fought off the pirates? Su Ming. Yes, the pirates are too abominable. They attacked you before leaving. You were dizzy just now. It's over. You must have lost your memory after being beaten. Don't worry, the Marine will not let this matter go. Virgo thought about it and it seemed to be true. When he woke up just now, he felt dizzy. He looked at the bloody bamboo stick that fell on the ground not far away. It was his weapon. He didn't run away. It seems that I really drove the pirates away by myself. Seeing the Marines around him waking up one after another and looking at him with admiration after hearing Su Ming's words, Virgo remembered his mission and straightened his chest. This is what I should do. I'm a Marine, an ally of justice, and it's my duty to fight off the pirates. Su Ming patted Virgo's shoulder happily and said, "Well said. Introduce yourself to others like this from now on. You are a partner of justice, Virgo. My partner in justice, Virgo, Marine cheered as he woke up. Su Ming looked serious and turned to leave. Commander Su Ming. Virgo suddenly called Su Ming. Huh? Is there anything else? Su Ming asked puzzledly. Sir, thank you for your support. I heard that you will be leaving this base soon. Can you leave me a gift? It doesn't have to be expensive, just a souvenir. Virgo heard that Su Ming came to the base and did nothing but slack off all day, and no one in the base dared to control him. He must have something to do with some senior generals in the headquarters. If I could get in touch with him, it would definitely help me in my mission to go undercover in the Marine Corps. Su Ming raised his eyebrows and looked at Virgo with a strange expression. Are you sure? Sure. I hope the sir will grant my request. Su Ming shook his head and handed the mask he had just worn when fighting Kaido to Virgo. Well, I hope this thing can bring you good luck. This thing is yours from today on. Remember, no matter who asks, it's yours. Virgo was touched. Su Ming had given him this instruction, so it must be a very important thing, yet he handed it to him like this. It seemed that he had performed really well just now. Don't worry, senior. I will always carry this mask with me and will not let you down. Su Ming looked at Virgo holding the mask, gave him an affirmative look, and said with a smile, Come on, righteous man. Someone is waiting for you in New World. Chapter 57 Don't Go. At night, the Marine at G5 base held a welcoming ceremony for Virgo. Virgo also successfully passed the rookie period and directly became a member of the base. Later in the night, while Marine was drunk, Virgo took out the Den Mushi he had hidden. Hey, young master, I have successfully infiltrated the Marine G5 base. On the other end of the phone, Doflamingo leaned on the bed, listening to Virgo's words. So soon? Didn't you just enter the base? Yes, young master, but I'm lucky. Pirates came to the G5 base, but I drove them away. Now I'm the hero of the base. Fought off the pirates? Doflamingo frowned. Do you know which pirates? I don't know. I was also injured and lost my memory. Doflamingo was silent for a moment. Forget it. He must be a small character, otherwise he wouldn't retreat so easily. Anyway, it's good to succeed. In this way, our next plan can be carried out in advance. Virgo nodded. I understand, young master. I'll be waiting for your orders at any time. On a remote island in New World, Kaido had a scar on his chest that could never be healed, and it kept bleeding. Damn it. What on earth did this Virgo use to actually hurt Lousy? Seeing that the wound on his chest didn't seem to be healing, as if there was some invisible force preventing it from healing, Kaido hardened his heart and tore off a large piece of flesh from his chest along with the wound. There was another scream from the island. In a blink of an eye, 3 days passed and Kaido's injuries had mostly recovered. However, the psychological trauma cannot be healed in a short time. Nowadays, I can't stand the sight of bamboo at all thanks to that Virgo. Virgo, Lousy will remember you. Don't let Lousy know your background. He had been out for a few days and had not sent any message to his subordinates. Kaido transformed into a dragon again and flew towards Wanokuni. Wanokuni, port, on the Beast's pirate's ship. Captain, you're back. Yanzai. Jin looked at Kaido who had regained his human form. Kaido nodded. I haven't been here for the past few days, so nothing has happened. It's nothing. Our people have been keeping an eye on the Odin clan. Captain, sit down and talk. Is there anything else you want to do? Jin looked at Kaido in confusion. Advertisement. Kaido closed his eyes, and the corners of his eyes twitched. No, it's okay. Standing is good. Sitting all the time is not good for your health. Don't worry about me. Is there anything else? Jin looked at Kaido suspiciously and continued. If there is anything, Doflamingo has contacted us. He seems to have some new technology that can train a large number of combat forces. But he insisted on speaking to you alone. Kaido narrowed his eyes when he heard this. A lot of combat power. Yes, that's what he said. Jin nodded. Kaido was silent for a moment. Strength is essential if you want to master Wanokuni. We alone are not enough. Contact him for me and I'll talk to him. Jin was prepared and took out a Den Mushi from his arms and handed it to Kaido. After a series of telephone buzz sounds, Kaido? Doflamingo's voice came from the Den Mushi. Doflamingo, right? I'm Kaido. Jin has already told me about your situation and wanted to talk to me in person. If you can't come up with something decent, you should know the consequences. Of course, I have a lot of war weapons. If that's the case, it's not enough for me to talk to you alone on the phone. Kaido's voice remained calm. Doflamingo was not surprised by Kaido's reaction. What if I say I have a way to make devil fruit? What? Kaido's eyes widened. I have a way to make devil fruit, Doflamingo said with confidence. Kaido's breathing quickened when he heard this. What method did you use? In the Den Mushi, Doflamingo laughed and said, this technology is still in the Marine Research Unit, but I already have someone undercover in the Marine. As long as I ask him to provide some support and bring the person out, the technology will naturally be in our hands. In the Marine's hand? That's right. Don't worry. Nothing will happen to my people. I can tell you his name and you can check it yourself. G5 base, Virgo. What did you say? Kaido's voice suddenly increased by 1 decibel. Doflamingo looked confused. G5 base Virgo, what's the problem? Kaido held the Den Mushi tightly, trying to suppress his anger. Where are you now? Dressrosa, we're not far away. Advertisement? Okay, don't go. Lousy will go over there now, don't go. After saying that, Kaido hung up the phone. On the other side of the Dendenmushi, Doflamingo looked at the Dendenmushi that had hung up and frowned, but soon smiled again. It seems that the temptation of artificial devil fruit is still very strong. Kaido actually wants to come here in person. Young master, did Kaido agree to the deal? Torbull asked weakly, standing in the shadows. Doflamingo nodded. Are you okay? Torbull walked slowly out of the shadows. His already slovenly appearance became even more miserable at this moment. He was extremely skinny, with a hideous scar running from his left shoulder to his hip. He walked with a limp and seemed to be in great pain. It's okay. Fortunately, we had some tricks up our sleeves, otherwise we would have been killed by that young marine. Torbull's body trembled unconsciously whenever he recalled the scene of being killed by Su Ming a year ago. Doflamingo gritted his teeth, veins on his forehead throbbing. In addition to anger, there was a hint of fear deep in his heart. The sword that struck him at that time has become an indelible shadow in his heart. After awakening Conqueror's Haki by defeating himself and eating the devil fruit, his growth has been smooth sailing. Doflamingo always thought he was the chosen one until he met Su Ming. Although he is a little younger than me, his strength is like an abyss with no bottom. Even though he had practiced for another year, he still felt that he had no chance of winning if he faced Su Ming from that time. Damn it, haven't you found out anything about that marine yet? Torbull shook his head weakly. We have tried our best to search among the generals of the naval headquarters, but there is really no one. Keep going. With that kind of strength, he definitely can't be a recruit, let alone a random soldier from the four seas. Maybe this guy is a weapon secretly trained by the Marines. Torbull nodded and said nothing more. The sword injured his internal organs. Although he survived, he was only barely alive. Doflamingo wanted to say something else when a roar like thunder rang out in the sky. Doflamingo! Come out the lousy! Doflamingo's pupils shrank and he quickly dodged to the window, only to see a giant dragon hovering in the air. Kaido! So soon? How dare you make such a big deal like this? You're really stupid. Doflamingo stood in midair, his hands in his pockets, and shouted to Kaido, I'm here, let's go down and talk. However, I'm coming down, you be ***ch, great power, thundering 8 trigrams. Chapter 58 You are so filial to me, time flies and a week has passed. Golden Lion was very stubborn and rushed into the marine base when the marine was fully prepared. He was almost beaten to a pulp by Garp and Sengoku. Then, as expected, he was sent to Impel Down and happily received a lifetime meal ticket. Su Ming couldn't help but shake his head after hearing the news. It must be that the waves were too big and his brain was confused. What kind of identity do you have? You're driving a broken ship and you're challenging the naval headquarters. Captain Su Ming, we have received a message from our headquarters asking you to return to Marineford. A marine at the G5 base reported. Su Ming nodded and returned to the headquarters with the gifts he had prepared. After the Ohara incident, Su Ming became a familiar face among the marine senior management. He was seen walking through the marine base carrying a bunch of gifts, attracting many strange looks from people along the way. People who are familiar with Garp know that it is useless to find this old guy in his office, but it is always effective to go to Sengoku's office. Bang bang bang, come in. Sengoku's voice came from the office. Su Ming pushed the door open and saw Garp lying on the sofa like Jayu. Oh, the kid is back, Garp said calmly while picking his nose. Sengoku nodded at Su Ming as a greeting. Su Ming curled his lips and said, No, I brought you a gift. Hearing this, Garp's eyes lit up and he quickly sat up from the sofa. Haha, this kid is quite filial. He even remembers to bring a gift for me when he goes out. As he said this, Garp raised his eyebrows towards Sengoku with a show-off look in his eyes. Sengoku was speechless, drinking his tea in a depressed mood, thinking to himself, should I also accept a disciple? Garp smiled proudly, hey, kid, take it out and show some people what gift my good disciple brought to me. Su Ming chuckled and said, I knew you were impatient, so I prepared it for you a long time ago and left it outside the door. I'm telling you, I don't know how many people asked me what I brought along the way. I told them it was a gift for your husband, and they looked so envious. Negation lower half circle negation. Garp was even more delighted when he heard this. It's an honor, this disciple deserves it. Garp patted Su Ming's shoulder with satisfaction. Yes, I was right about you. He turned his head and looked at Sengoku. Come on, Sengoku, don't just stand there, come with me and take a look. When it comes to choosing a disciple, I have to be the one. Su Ming. I feel embarrassed by your compliments. Advertisement I know you are under a lot of pressure, so I picked this gift for you to help you relax and relieve your stress. I guarantee you will be satisfied. Well, you're thoughtful, kid. Su Ming showed a simple smile on his face and scratched his head. I just came back and I have gifts for others to give, so I won't accompany you. By the way, Sengoku-senpai, this is for you. It will be more effective when used with the instructions and seasonings inside. Su Ming took out a rectangular cardboard box. Before the two could say anything more, Su Ming turned and left. When he reached the door, he did not forget to look back at Garp and said, Teacher, don't be too tired. After saying that, Su Ming pushed the door and left. Watching Su Ming leave, Garp smiled and said, Come on, Sengoku, accompany me out for a look. The two pushed the door and walked out of the office. Garp was smiling 1 second, and the next the smile froze on his face. At the door of the office, there was a package in the shape of a human figure with curves in all the right places, and there were some very eye-catching large words written on it. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Monkey D. Garp privately tailored. In the distance, many Marines were looking over here intentionally or unintentionally. Sengoku stood aside, reacted and forced a smile, patted Garp on the shoulder and said, "Peefed, if we talk about the vision of taking in disciples, it has to be you. This gift really touches my heart." Garp's forehead was throbbing with veins. Su Ming, come back to lousy. Su Ming, who had already run out of naval headquarters, vaguely heard the roar behind him. He turned around and shook his head. "No need to thank me. It's just a human sandbag. This is what a disciple should do." Humming a little tune, Su Ming walked towards his tavern. This time when Su Ming returns to Marineford, he has important things to do. Inside the pub, Karina sat in the office checking the accounts. Suddenly, her beautiful eyebrows furrowed, and she instantly pulled out the ebony and ivory guns from her waist, infused them with hockey, pointed the gun at the back, and was ready to shoot. But when he saw who was coming, he put his hand down again. Karina rolled her eyes at Su Ming. So elusive. Su Ming smiled and said, "Just came back to see you. It has been a year since the last time the two met. Otherwise, why do they say girls change a lot when they grow up?" Su Ming looked at Karina in front of him. Although it was only half a year, Karina's temperament had changed drastically. Her curvy figure, paired with a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, exudes a domineering aura that is inconsistent with her age. Advertisement noticing Su Ming's gaze, Karina smiled lightly, a hint of sweetness rising in her heart, but she still rolled her eyes at Su Ming. "Okay, stop looking and let's get down to business. The tavern has changed a lot in the year you were away from the headquarters. This is the account of the pub's profit for the year." Su Ming took the account and took a quick look at it and was stunned. "This? A small pub with an annual profit of 100 million Baileys. This isn't a pub, it's a money tree." Karina seemed to have anticipated Su Ming's surprise. "I was also shocked when I first learned about this amount, but this is Marineford, the naval headquarters after all. The residents are relatively stable and have some wealth. And there are those Marines, that's why there is such income. If it were somewhere else, the income would probably be reduced by 1/3. Su Ming nodded. "Even so, it's still amazing. I suddenly feel like I don't need to work so hard anymore." Su Ming imitated Garp and fell on the sofa. Karina couldn't help but cover her mouth and chuckle again. "Well, now that you're back, I think you won't be leaving for a short time. It just so happens that this tavern has been run to this point, and it's unlikely to make more money. Do you have any ideas?" Karina has obviously encountered a bottleneck in her development. Su Ming sat up, stroking his chin, and thought for a moment. "Yes, let's do this. I'll go back to the headquarters in a few days, and then I'll make some preparations and give you news then." Karina looked at Su Ming in confusion. "Why don't you go back now?" Su Ming smiled awkwardly. "Garp must have loved the gifts he gave me in the past few days. I'm just afraid of disturbing him." Karina rolled her eyes, knowing that Su Ming was talking nonsense. Who knows what bad guy might have done again. A week later, Hina and Smoker learned that Su Ming had returned and took the initiative to find the tavern. In the box, Smoker and Hina sat opposite Su Ming, looking at him warily. "Hey, you two, what are you doing? I just came back this year, don't you welcome me?" Su Ming said with a sad face. Hina and Smoker shook their heads. "We're welcome, but you don't have to bring us any gifts. This week, Vice Admiral Garp has been boxing in the playground with your broken sandbag every day, fearing that someone might not see him and misunderstand him. We can't afford you to do this." Thinking of the way the Marine at the base looked at Garp a week ago, which was definitely social death, the two of them couldn't help but shudder. "I don't want to experience it anyway. Why didn't I realize before that this guy is actually a black-hearted person who kills people without a knife?" Chapter 59 Su Ming. I bought the headlines for tomorrow. After a month of Garp's efforts, the rumors about him at the Marine base were finally put to rest. After the controversy died down, the first thing Garp did was to find Su Ming, intending to teach the guy a lesson. But after the fight, I found that this kid had become very powerful and he was not at all at a disadvantage when fighting with me. Of course, in order to calm Garp down, Su Ming deliberately took a few punches from Garp. Garp wouldn't really kill him anyway, and his body wasn't vulnerable to any damage. After learning that the G5 base was attacked by Kaido, Garp and Sengoku made some efforts and finally secured a position of colonel in the headquarters for Su Ming, and he also returned to the naval headquarters. That day, in the office, Sengoku was sitting behind his desk, correcting some documents. He looked up and saw Garp and Su Ming, one young and one old, sitting on the sofa opposite him, with snot bubbles hanging from their noses and snoring non-stop. He suddenly felt angry. "Garp. Su Ming. You two, master and disciple, are going too far. Do you think my office is a hotel?" The two woke up dazedly. Is dinner ready? Sengoku? That's enough. Wake up." Sengoku suddenly felt a little regretful about letting Su Ming return to naval headquarters. Garp was already enough of a headache for him before, and now he had another disciple, which was even more troublesome. "Why can't I think straight and bring these two guys around?" Sengoku looked at Su Ming and said seriously, "I just got the information. Recently, Kaido has been looking for trouble with Doflamingo for some reason. Didn't the G5 branch encounter Kaido some time ago? Do you know any news?" Su Ming was stunned. Kaido was looking for trouble with Doflamingo? Could it be that the fact that Virgo is Ming's subordinate was exposed so quickly? This won't work either. How can you hide it? But if Kaido really knew about this, Ming Jie would be in big trouble. Although Kaido is not a 4 emperor yet, from Su Ming's previous fight with him, this guy's strength has definitely reached the quasi-admiral level. The reason why he could force Kaido to retreat so easily was that on the one hand, that guy was suffering from a serious injury, and on the other hand, he was frightened by the death eyes. Otherwise, there would be no way to end the battle so easily. Su Ming was in a daze when Sengoku called out again, "Su Ming, I'm asking you a question. Do you know any news?" Su Ming shook his head with an expression that said, I don't know. It has nothing to do with me, underscore. Sengoku frowned and thought for a moment. Forget it, these two are not good people anyway, let them fight if they want. Advertisement Su Ming. Yeah, that makes sense. Let the pirates solve their own conflicts. We Marines should not get involved. Su Ming stood up and said, it seems like there is nothing for me to do. You guys chat, I'm going to go out for a while. Pushing the door and walking out of the office, Sengoku looked at Su Ming's back as he left. Garp, what has your disciple been busy with recently? I haven't seen him on any missions. Why does it seem like he has something to do every day? Garp shook his head blankly. I don't know, but he's definitely not working. This guy definitely doesn't take his work that seriously. After walking out of Sengoku's office, Su Ming happened to see an acquaintance. Hey, Vice Admiral of Flying Squirrel. Su Ming stepped forward and greeted him enthusiastically. The Flying Squirrel also smiled. Oh, it's Su Ming. I just came back and heard that you were transferred back to the headquarters. I didn't have time to congratulate you. Flying Squirrel was a Vice Admiral, but he greeted Su Ming as if he was an equal, without any airs at all. Su Ming chuckled and said, hey, there's nothing to congratulate about this. I'm actually quite comfortable staying in East Blue. It's all because of that old man Garp. He insisted that I go to New World to perform some mission. I lost a leisurely position for nothing. The Flying Squirrel showed an awkward smile on his face and said, haha, as long as you were happy. If other Marine branch commanders heard this, they would be so angry that they would vomit blood. Su Ming then asked, Vice Admiral Flying Squirrel, what's going on now? The Flying Squirrel shook his head, it's nothing. Su Ming grinned. It's been a year since we last met. I haven't had time to deepen my relationship with the seniors. I happen to be free today. How about we call a few friends and go out for a drink together? I know a nice pub, I'll treat you. The Flying Squirrel hesitated. Su Ming grabbed the Flying Squirrel's arm and said, what's this, senior, you are not looking down on me, Su Ming, are you? The Flying Squirrel sighed and nodded helplessly. Okay, then I'll follow your arrangements. Okay, let's call Kuzan, Hua Xiaoshan, and Stallowberry. Oh, and Guillaume. If we don't call her, she will definitely blame me later. Senior Flying Squirrel, I'm treating you today. Bring along any subordinates you think are good, and I'll make all the arrangements. Su Ming said generously, not giving Flying Squirrel any chance to react, and turn around to invite Hua Xiaoshan and Kuzan and the others. At the night bar, Su Ming sent a message to Karina. Hey, Karina, you are going to a newspaper office now. Remember, you must bring your camera with you. Also, take out all the wine in the storehouse. Trust me, our bar will take off after today. Advertisement. Although Karina didn't know what Su Ming was going to do, she still did what he asked. The night bar has expanded a lot in this year and can now accommodate 200 to 300 people at the same time. Soon, the private room and bar hall were filled with Marines. Su Ming held the microphone and coughed twice. Ahem, everyone is here today to give me, Su Ming, face. Have fun and drink as much as you want. I, Su Ming, will pay for everything. There was a kind of Marine excitement in the bar. Long live His Excellency Su Ming, brother, be generous. In the box, Kuzan, Flying Squirrel, Hua Xiaoshan, Guillaume and other Marine mainstays couldn't help but laugh when they saw this situation. Kuzan smiled and said, it seems that our Colonel Su Ming has a rich family, so don't be polite. Come on, let's toast to Su Ming's return to the naval headquarters. The wine went down their throats, mixed with a strong aroma of wheat. The moment they took a sip, everyone's eyes widened. This wine, Su Ming, what kind of wine is this? Why is it so delicious? This wheat aroma. Su Ming was walking back, looking at the few people and grinning. This is the new drink launched by this bar, called beer, brewed with wheat, and only sold here. How does it taste? This tastes amazing. Wow, Su Ming, you actually hid such a great place. On the boat, alcohol is indispensable. Even a female general like Guillaume can drink a lot. Under the influence of alcohol, the party soon became lively. After 3 rounds of drinks, Su Ming quietly ran out of the private room and winked at Karina. Karina came over and supported Su Ming. What's wrong? Su Ming whispered, ask the people from the newspaper to come in and take a picture of them. I bought the headline of tomorrow's newspaper. It's called Real Men Drink and Travel the World. Add a picture of the Flying Squirrel and the others drinking, and remember to take a picture of the Marine General's clothes. Damn it, I spent so much money today, I have to make it back from them. Chapter 60 Good Brothers are sold. Early morning. Vice Admiral and his companions woke up from the bar box and shook their heads when they saw the mess on the floor. I drank like crazy yesterday. Su Ming spent a lot of money. Hua Xiaoshan, wake up, we should go back to headquarters. The Flying Squirrel pushed the burning mountain beside him. At this time, the door of the private room was pushed open, and Su Ming walked in with a smile. Did you guys enjoy the drinks yesterday? The Flying Squirrel nodded, and a polite smile appeared on his face. I'm sorry, I haven't had this wine before, and I couldn't help but drink 2 more glasses. I've made you spend money, Colonel Su Ming. Hua Xiaoshan and Stolo Berry, who woke up, also smiled awkwardly. Su Ming's expression suddenly became serious when he heard this, and he said seriously, everyone, you are looking down on me by saying this. I'm treating you guys to a drink because I think you guys all get along well with me, Su Ming. I truly consider you guys my friends. What's a meal like that? You actually said that I wasted money. It's obvious that you don't consider me, Su Ming, as a friend. A true friend is someone who will stick by you through thick and thin. Su Ming's words were sincere, and after hearing them, Flying Squirrel, Huo Shaoshan and others lowered their heads in shame. Damn it, brother Su Ming treated me sincerely, why did I say such rude words just now? Huo Shaoshan, who was the most straightforward, suddenly stood up from his seat. Colonel Su Ming, no, brother Su Ming. From today on, you are my friend at Huoshao Mountain. If you have any problem, just tell me. I will never say a word. That's right. Last time at Ohara, I felt that brother Su Ming and I had similar personalities. I wanted to get to know each other, but I didn't expect him to be transferred. Now he's back to the naval headquarters. Brother, there's nothing to say. Let's talk if you have something to say. Stallo Berry almost hugged Su Ming and became sworn brothers on the spot. Seeing that everyone who came with him had expressed their opinions, the flying squirrel smiled and shook his head, as he had drunk the most wine yesterday. Su Ming, I didn't mean what I said before. Don't mind it. We are friends from now on. Seeing that everyone said so, Su Ming finally showed a satisfied smile. I knew I wouldn't make the mistake. I sent the other Marines in the bar back. They still have training missions and can't be delayed. Brothers, do you want to have another round? Su Ming looked at the wine bottle on the table. The flying squirrels waved their hands quickly and said, no, no, although this wine is good, we already drank a lot yesterday. Let's drink it another day, another day. Su Ming laughed and said, okay, I'll listen to you, brother. I know that you guys can drink a lot, but you can't be greedy because you have a mission to complete. You must not be drinking enough right now. Take these cards and come over when you are free. I dare not say more. This box is reserved for you guys at any time. This. The flying squirrels looked at each other, feeling a little embarrassed. We had already drunk a lot yesterday, and now it was a bit unreasonable for Su Ming to reserve a private room just for a few of us. Su Ming frowned. What, brother, you didn't forget what you just said, did you? Advertisement. Having said that, no one knew what to say. He took the card from Su Ming and looked at him seriously. Brother, if you need our help in the future, please don't hesitate. Su Ming chuckled. Brother, now that you mention it, I remember that there is something that I need your help with. The eyes of the flying squirrels twitched. I had a bad feeling in my heart. Su Ming hurriedly said, brother, don't be nervous, it's not a big deal. In fact, you can guess even without me telling you that I own this pub. I hope you can help me promote it and make my pub more popular. Flying Squirrel, Huo Shaoshan, and Stolo Berry felt relieved after hearing this. What's the big deal? Brother Su Ming, don't worry. Your wine is so delicious. Even if you don't tell us, we will definitely help you promote it when we get back. Su Ming showed an honest smile and said, that's not necessary. When I promote it later, you guys can just help me cheer for me. The flying squirrels gradually lost themselves as Su Ming called them, brother. Hearing that the matter was so simple, he immediately waved his hand and said, brother, don't worry, from today on, we will be the living signboard of your tavern. If anyone dares to say your tavern is not good, I will go up and slap him in the face. If anyone dares to come to your bar to cause trouble, I will arrest him and hang him on the bow of the boat to catch sea kings. Su Ming got the answer he wanted and was in a good mood. Send a few people out of the bar. Walking on the road, Flying Squirrel, Fire Mountain, and Stalo Berry kept sighing. Su Ming is a really good brother. You should visit him more often in the future. Stolo Berry said in a muffled voice. Huo Shaoshan nodded in agreement. That's right. It's just a small thing for us to do, but it costs so much. I feel embarrassed. The flying squirrel didn't say anything. Ever since he came out of Su Ming's bar, he always felt like something was wrong. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew by, rolled up a newspaper, and almost hit the flying squirrel in the face. The flying squirrel grabbed the newspaper and was about to throw it aside. I just glanced at the newspaper headlines out of curiosity. What the hell? Just this one look made him burst into swearing. Huo Shaoshan and Stalo Berry looked at the flying squirrel with dissatisfaction. What are you doing? Why are you so startled? The flying squirrel stood there for a long moment, covering his face, and handed the newspaper to the two men. Look for yourself, today's newspaper headlines. Huo Shaoshan and Stalo Berry took it over to take a look. Quote. Quote. Quiet. The atmosphere among the three of them was surprisingly quiet for a while. Advertisement. There were several big words written on the newspaper headline. Going to the ends of the earth is the choice of a true man. The small print introduces the complexity of the wine's brewing and the sales address. Below, there is a picture of a few flying squirrels drinking from their glasses. FK, I really got tricked by this kid. The three of them reacted immediately. But I can think about what they said when they came out. Damn it, it was obvious that Su Ming was thinking that I might come after him, so he blocked my way with his words in advance. 3 naval headquarters vice admirals promoted him all over the world, but this guy just dismissed himself with a glass of wine. Fortunately, I thought this guy was trustworthy before. Why did you always want to make connections and friends before? It turns out you were waiting here. The three of them looked at each other, their faces disheveled in the wind. This kid looks to be over 100 pounds, how many tricks does he have? Let's go. You have to be careful when you come into contact with Su Ming in the future. I can't outsmart him. Don't let yourself be sold out one day and have to help him count money. The flying squirrel smiled bitterly and turned around. Huo Shaoshan and Stalo Berry nodded with deep concern. In their hearts, several people silently labeled Su Ming a profiteer. In a blink of an eye, another 10 days passed. Thanks to the advertising effect, Su Ming's pub is crowded with customers every day. Monthly profit doubled 10 times from 100 million Baileys. Su Ming, who was used to big storms, couldn't help but be a little surprised. This was even faster than printing money. Meanwhile, in the headquarters Admiral Sengoku's office, Garp was still catching up on his sleep on the sofa. He sipped his black tea leisurely. The door was pushed open, and a Marine handed a stack of reports to Sengoku's desk. A strong smell of alcohol hit him. The report has just been placed on the table. Bump. The soldier fell to the ground and fell into a deep sleep. The vein on Sengoku's forehead throbbed. Can someone explain to me what's going on with Marine lately? This is the 8th one this week. Did Marine add special training to improve his drinking capacity? I'm sending a bunch of drunks to deliver reports to me every day. Chapter 61 Real Big Customer. Sengoku pulled the soldier up from the ground, picked up the tea on the table, and poured it into the soldier's mouth. The sleeping soldier woke up dazedly. What is this? Stand at attention. Sengoku shouted angrily. The soldier straightened up subconsciously. But that straight body was like a long balloon that was not fully inflated, swaying left and right continuously, which made Sengoku frown again. Not wanting to waste time talking to this Marine who was almost unconscious, he simply got straight to the point. Let me ask you, what's going on recently? Why are so many Marines always drunk in broad daylight? Where did you get drunk like this? Sengoku hadn't taken it too seriously when a few soldiers got drunk before, but now, he felt that he had to take this matter seriously. No matter what, if we continue to drink like this, it won't be long before everyone in the naval headquarters will have gout and alcoholic liver disease. Could this be a plan devised by some hateful pirates? It's so vicious. Sengoku got a headache. The confused soldier described to Sengoku what he knew. I learned that it was actually promoted by several vice admirals of the naval headquarters. Sengoku felt like his lungs were about to explode. Call the flying squirrels over here. Now. Immediately. Crane was sitting nearby, and seeing Sengoku like this, he couldn't help but advise, okay, Sengoku, don't be so angry. I feel like you've been getting more and more irritable lately. Sengoku shook his head. Marshal Sora will be working for the world government soon. They have already announced that I will be the next marshal. The burden on my shoulders suddenly felt heavier. Maybe I've been too sensitive lately. After saying that, Sengoku looked at Garp who was still sleeping on the sofa and couldn't help biting his back teeth. I am so stressed out that I can't sleep all day, but this guy almost falls asleep in front of me every day. It's really frustrating. Suru guessed Sengoku's thoughts at a glance and smiled lightly. I can't envy him. He is just a vice admiral. He should not interfere in other people's affairs. But this guy can train several outstanding talents for the Marine, and can also help you share a lot of pressure, so you should be content. Sengoku nodded after hearing this and said, indeed, with Su Ming here, Kuzan's next generation of Marines won't have to worry about not having enough combat power. HMPH, let's just say he made some contribution to the Marine's future. Sengoku felt better when he thought about the bright future that Marine had. Bang bang bang. Advertisement. There was a knock on the office door. Sengoku's face turned stern again. Come in. Flying Squirrel, Burning Mountain, and Stalo Berry walked into the office with their heads down, like children who had done something wrong. Admiral Sengoku, you're looking for us. Sengoku snorted. You guys have been having a very comfortable time lately. Why, you have some good wine but you didn't even ask me to give you a few bottles to try. The flying squirrels and their companions felt a sinking feeling in their hearts. It was over. They knew it was this matter. As Su Ming's advertisements were put out, the drinks in his bar quickly occupied the entire Marineford drinks market. The pure taste left no room for other bars to survive. Once you have tasted the wine from Su Ming Tavern, drinking wine from other taverns will taste like horse urine. Naturally, this approach caused dissatisfaction among many people, but after seeing his advertisement in the newspaper, some people who had ulterior motives immediately gave up the idea. Damn, most of the Marine senior executives are in the photo, who dares to mess with them? In just half a month, dozens of pubs on the island either closed down or signed agreements with Su Ming to buy his drinks and then sell them in their own stores. And because these wines taste so good, many people become addicted to them in a short period of time. Flying Squirrel and his friends have recently seen many Marines passed out drunk on the playground during training, so they knew that sooner or later they would be called to Sengoku's office. Admiral Sengoku, please listen to our explanation. We are also victims in this matter. There are bad guys in the Marine. Flying Squirrel, Burning Mountain and Stalo Berry told Sengoku exactly what happened. Sengoku sat behind his work, sullenly looking, head bowed. You guys get out. The three flying squirrels rushed out of the office as if they had been pardoned. Inside the room, Sengoku looked at Garp who was still sleeping, his whole body emitting resentment that distorted the air. Ka, hu. Sengoku's roar was clearly heard by most of the naval headquarters. 10 minutes later, Garp had a black eye. Sengoku, you old man, you took the wrong medicine, how dare you hit me? Using the power of the fruit to fight. Garp said while rubbing his face in pain. Sengoku hugged his shoulders, his chest still rising and falling violently, his anger still lingering. HMPH, I hit you, I didn't awaken the fruit just now, I hit you, but that was because of our old comrade. Look at the good apprentice you have. He is almost destroying Marine. Garp. Aside, Suru looked at Garp's confused expression and shook his head. Sengoku can't be blamed entirely for this. Crane told Garp what he had just heard. What? This kid has this kind of wine, but he didn't even send me 2 bottles. Garp stood up suddenly. Advertisement. Isn't this the point? Sengoku took out 2 blood pressure pills from his pocket and swallowed them with trembling hands. After calming himself down, Sengoku said, there is nothing wrong with Su Ming selling alcohol, but the problem now is that he has seriously affected Marine's combat effectiveness. You and I will go to that kid in person and resolve this matter. We can't let him sell so much alcohol to the Marine. If he keeps doing this, we won't be able to wipe out the pirates at sea. They'll probably fall into the sea and drown if they get on the ship. Night bar, office. Su Ming was listening to Karina reporting to him about her income during this period. No matter how I put it, if you want to make money, you still have to monopolize. In just half a month, I don't know how many small goals I have completed. Bang bang bang, there was a knock on the door. Without waiting for Su Ming to speak, Garp and others pushed the door and walked into the office. Vice Admiral Garp, Vice Admiral Suru, Admiral Sengoku. Karina bowed and greeted them. You guys chat, I'll be out first. Sengoku and Suru nodded. Garp was not polite either, and sat down on the sofa. You are so rude, you don't even give me something good to try. You don't know how to respect the elderly and love the young. Su Ming rolled his eyes. Old man, you have to speak with conscience. Didn't I bring you a gift last time I came back? How dare you mention that, little brat? Garp's defense was broken instantly. Sengoku hurriedly grabbed Garp and said, okay, let's get down to business. Su Ming, you're selling alcohol, so we shouldn't be involved in this kind of thing. But now there are too many people in the Marine who drink your wine, and it even affects the Marine's combat effectiveness. You are also a member of the Marine, so I hope. Before Sengoku could finish, Su Ming waved his hand to interrupt him. Admiral Sengoku, I understand your intentions, but with all due respect, it is impossible to stop selling alcohol to Marine. But I have another solution. Not only will it not affect the Marine's combat effectiveness, it can even help the Marine improve its combat effectiveness. Sengoku frowned and looked at Su Ming. What method? Su Ming showed a smile at the corner of his mouth, like a cunning fox. If Sengoku doesn't come to find him again, he will have to take the initiative to find Sengoku. Pub sales are just a small business after all, and the ones in front of us are the real big customers. Before that, I have another question for Admiral Sengoku. Are you interested in giving the Marine some extra discretionary military funds? Not much, only a few 100 billion Baileys a year. What do you think, future Marine Marshal, would you like to consider it? Chapter 62. World government knows nothing about capital. As soon as Su Ming finished speaking, the atmosphere in the room suddenly became quiet, and you could hear a pin drop clearly. A light flashed in the eyes of Vice Admiral Crane, who had always been calm and composed. Hundreds of billions in military spending. This guy said it lightly, but if the Marine could really increase its military expenditure by tens of billions, no, even 10 billion, the Marine could suppress 20% of the pirates in the New World while consolidating its headquarters. At the very least, it can protect 5 or 6 more new countries. What do you have in mind? Sengoku asked seriously. Su Ming smiled slightly. Old man, Senior Sengoku, Senior Crane, you should have tasted the wine I produced. What do you think it tastes like? Crane smiled and said, it tastes good. Even some islands in the New World that are famous for their drinks can't compare to it. That's right, I've been sailing in the New World for so many years, but this is the first time I've tasted wine with such authentic flavor. Garp also commented. Su Ming's smile widened. This is the deal I want to make with Marine. When the Marine goes out to sea, rum is an essential military supply. The alcoholic beverage I produce can completely replace rum. It not only tastes better, but also has a longer storage time. The most important thing is that it's cheaper than rum. As long as the Marine orders supplies from me, I will be able to provide the Marine with more than 30 billion Baileys per year. Su Ming looked at the 3 of them with a smile. The 3 people in the room, Sengoku Garp, looked at each other and then shook their heads. Sengoku raised his head, looked at Su Ming and sighed, boy, you think this matter is too simple. The military expenses of the Marine have always been allocated by the world government. There are many tricks involved. You can't participate in it. Give up this idea as soon as possible. Even Garp and he thought Su Ming was too naive. In a sense, the Marine is the visible military branch of the world government. The world government allocates military funds to the Marine every year for 2 purposes. One is for the continued development of Marine, and the other is to suppress Marine. Once the Marines have thoughts of rebellion, the world government can immediately cut off military funding. Therefore, the world government will never allow the Marine to have an independent source of income, at least this source of income cannot flow into the Marine from outside the world government. Garp, Sengoku, and Suru all understood this. Boy, you are still too young and there are some things you don't see through. Garp sighed. Advertisement. Su Ming smiled slightly, not annoyed. I think you guys are making this matter too complicated. Are you kidding? How could Su Ming not understand that the world government controls military spending, which is an obvious fact? That would be underestimating himself, the old fish king. Anyone with a normal IQ and a bit of political talent can see this. But since I dared to propose this deal, I must be very confident. Su Ming stood up, took out 2 bottles of fine wine from the wine cabinet, and took out a few glasses. Boo! As soon as the bottle cap was opened, the rich aroma of wine instantly filled the entire room. Garp and the other two's eyes lit up. It must be said that although this kid's idea was a bit naive, this wine was really good. No wonder the Marine at the base was so addicted to it. Su Ming poured a glass of wine for everyone and handed it to them. In fact, you are just worried that the world government will stop you. But I want to do business, and I don't have to bypass the world government. My wine is tastier and cheaper than the rum produced now. Even children know how to seek benefits and avoid harm. We can definitely establish a long-term cooperative relationship. When the Marine is on a mission, the bottom floor of the warship is basically empty, which is perfect for transporting cargo. It's a waste to keep it. Why don't you help me deliver some wine and drinks during each mission? I'll cover 10% of the cost of the mission voyage. In this way, you can calculate how much money the Marine can save every year. He stood aside, closed his eyes, and silently calculated in his mind. Su Ming smiled and held up 2 fingers. 20 billion, at least 20 billion per year. He opened his eyes and looked at Su Ming in disbelief. The number he calculated in his mind was actually almost the same as the number Su Ming said. What this kid said is actually true. Sengoku looked at Garp, the unfocused disciple in front of him, staring at him intently, as if he wanted to get to know him all over again. But even so, the money will not stay in Marine's hands. As Marine consumption decreases, the world government will also reduce military spending accordingly. After all, according to Su Ming, the only ones who benefit are Su Ming and the world government, and Marine is just helping Su Ming white hits. This guy saved all the shipping costs, labor costs, and various other expenses. Damn it, your abacus beads are about to pop into my eyes. Su Ming had expected Sengoku to say this, and smiled slightly. Since I'm helping to transport the wine and so much cargo, Marine should at least give me some deposit. Advertisement. This money can still be given to you for use internally. It can be considered as a loan from me to you. This way, the world government will have no reason to cut Marine spending. As long as the world government wants to cut military spending, I will ask for payment. In the end, the money still has to stay in the Marine. As for the world government, if they agree to this business, I can pay 5% of the alcohol revenue every year. Don't underestimate this 5%. Once this business is rolled out, even if it's 5%, it will be worth hundreds of billions of Baileys, which is equivalent to having 10 more member countries. It still doesn't cost the world government anything. I think there is absolutely no reason to refuse this kind of business, right? After listening to Su Ming's words, Sengoku, Garp and Crane in the room all fell silent. If we really follow Su Ming's words, then this thing can really be done. This guy is simply a monster. Just by coming up with an idea, he can increase the Marine's military expenditure by tens of billions. After a while, Sengoku let out a sigh and looked up at Su Ming. Okay, I'll tell you about this when I get back, but I can't guarantee whether it will work or not. Su Ming chuckled. Okay, then I'll wait for good news from Admiral Sengoku. Sengoku, Garp, and Crane stood up to leave. What Su Ming said had such a huge impact on them that they had to go back and digest it. For a moment they even forgot the purpose of their visit. Sengoku had just stood up when Su Ming wanted to do something again. He stood up and caught up with Sengoku and said, by the way, Admiral Sengoku, I've seen that the Marines have too little entertainment recently. I want to make some contributions to the Marines. I want to open a few entertainment stores in Marineford. Can you support me? Like KTVs, dance halls, movie theaters, and the like. Of course, if there is space, we can open a snack street. The land is big enough, so it's not impossible to have a commercial area. Once these facilities are opened, our Marine's happiness index will definitely soar. Su Ming looked excited, as if he saw countless Baileys waving at him. World government, he knows nothing about capital. If you do some human trafficking, that's called capital. Bullshit. From now on, I, Su Ming, will monopolize the entertainment industry of the Grand Voyage. Sengoku's eyes twitched as he listened to Su Ming's words. Roll. This guy is much more dangerous than Roger. If he continues like this, Marine might really be destroyed. Chapter 63 New permissions opened. After seeing off Sengoku and his companions, Su Ming happily returned to his sofa. Karina saw everyone leave and returned to the office. As soon as she entered the room, she saw Su Ming whistling there with a very happy look on his face. Done. Su Ming smiled and said, no, but I believe those greedy guys from the world government will not refuse. After all, it's a benefit that comes to your doorstep for free, so why not refuse it? Karina sat across from Su Ming and asked, aren't you worried that this business will be too profitable and the world government will target you and kick you out? Today's Karina is no longer the little girl she used to be, and she has a deep understanding of the world. Su Ming chuckled and said, I'm really not afraid. I have given enough benefits to the bosses who joined us to ensure that they earn more than before. Do you think the world government is willing to give up this benefit to these civilians? Every business has to be run by someone, and if pushed to the limit, the tavern owners will simply close their doors. At the end of the day, this is not a business that can be done by those high-ranking guys. If you insist on snatching it, then no one will make any profit. Of course, if they agree to take all the intelligence personnel they have trained to the streets to sell alcohol, then I have nothing to say. Su Ming shrugged. Karina couldn't help laughing when she thought of the scene where world government CP0 and CP9 all went to the streets to sell alcohol. UB******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* facilities you just mentioneded to Sengoku Admiral? Karina thought of Sengoku's angry expression and looked at Su Ming suspiciously. Su Ming raised his eyebrows. Of course, this is a very profitable business. How can we let it go? But why is it in the naval headquarters? Su Ming touched his chin and thought for a moment. Haven't you heard that sentence? Men become bad when they have money. These guys at the naval headquarters capture so many pirates every day in exchange for Baileys. They can't spend them if they keep them. They will definitely become bad over time. I am helping them get on the right path. In the future, the Marines will earn money and spend it, and they won't take a penny home. This will promote economic mobility, which is good. Life without money is hell. Su Ming said, I won't go to hell, whoever wants to go can go. Advertisement. Karina looked at Su Ming's excitement and prayed for the Marine for a second in her heart. All the way back to Sengoku I kept thinking about what Su Ming had said to me. After discussing it with Crane, Garp, and Zephyr, they finally decided to report the matter to the world government. After all, the temptation of tens of billions of military expenditures is too great. If it can really be accomplished, the Marine can breathe a sigh of relief in today's turbulent sea. Holy Land Mariajoy. Inside the castle where the five elders are located. Sengoku stood in front of the five elders, bowing his head in respect. Sengoku, I heard from Sora that you insisted on seeing us regarding something important. Although I am your next Marine Marshal, you must also recognize your own identity. On the sofa, an old man in a black suit and with wavy white hair spoke slowly, with a hint of scolding in his words. Sengoku said nothing, still keeping his head down. Forget it, Kong is going to retire soon anyway, we'll see each other sooner or later. Sengoku, what exactly do you want to talk to us about that you have to come in person? On the sofa, an old man wearing a white samurai robe and holding a long sword said to smooth things over. Sengoku raised his head. Well, there's a new drink that's popular in Marineford recently, and Marine went to investigate. Sengoku relayed Su Ming's meaning. Of course, some processing was done on matters involving Marine military expenditures. Inside the house, the five elders were silent for a moment after hearing this. Making a deal with the world government. This is the first time I've heard of such a thing. Five elders, who looked like an old gentleman with a long beard and a cane, spoke in a neutral tone, and it was impossible to tell whether he was happy or angry. I haven't heard anything this interesting in years. Sengoku, that kid named Su Ming is a Marine from the headquarters if I'm not mistaken, and he seems to be Garp's apprentice. Sengoku nodded. Yes, Su Ming is a Marine from the headquarters. Haha, Garp is a much more interesting disciple than him. We can agree to this matter, but we want 10% of the net profit. The matter was settled, and Sengoku did not linger any longer, but left the holy land of Mariajoy with great excitement. After Sengoku left, advertisement. The first to speak, the wave method five elders asked, why did you agree to him? A little kid wants to do business with the world government. The five elders, who was leaning on a cane, shook his head and laughed. You didn't realize that what Sengoku brought was not just the intention of that kid, but the Marine high-level officials. It goes without saying that the guy must have given some benefits to the Marine side. Sengoku thinks highly of this guy. He will soon take over the position of Marine Marshal. There is no need to quarrel with a group of Marine high-ranking officials over such a trivial matter. Besides, if this business is really lucrative, once that guy becomes successful, we can definitely find a reason to take over. Just let him do the hard work for us in advance. After five elders, who was leaning on a cane, finished speaking, the other four people in the room stopped talking. No one even mentioned it, as if it was just a trivial matter. Sengoku quickly relayed the news back. Su Ming refused without even thinking about it. What a joke, if you dare to ask for 10% this time, you must ask for 100% next time. However, the business still needs to be done. Su Ming had guessed this situation in advance and made preparations. Since he couldn't give money, he would give something else. Su Ming gave the world government the recipes for several popular but common drinks. I have kept this recipe very secretive before, but now it is finally time to use it. After getting the formula, the five elders were very satisfied and felt that they had grasped Su Ming's lifeline. If the profit of this matter is very considerable, we can kick Su Ming out directly with this formula and take over the profit. However, few people know that in this project, the most valuable thing is never the formula, but Su Ming's operating model. After letting Karina take the money to start the factory, Su Ming once again became a hands-off boss and enjoyed the rare time of slacking off. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you slacked off for 1 hour during work, your current rank is Colonel, slacking points plus 1000. Current slacking point is 1,220,000. Congratulations to the host, successfully opened the new permission. Closing square bracket. Open black lens bracket. Congratulations host, the mall has been refreshed. Open the mall to view the new products. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Congratulations to the host for successfully opening new permissions and achieving the function. Close black lens bracket. Congratulations to the host, the new level of Lucky Draw has been opened, and the epic Lucky Draw roulette has been opened. 10 legendary lucky draws can be redeemed once. Closing square bracket. A series of system prompts sounded in Su Ming's mind. Su Ming's eyes lit up and he suddenly became energetic. After waiting for so long, the new function is finally enabled again. Chapter 64 Achievement System, Plan Ahead. The system's voice sounded in Su Ming's mind. It was worth it that I accumulated a whole year of slacking off points. The system permissions were upgraded. Not only did I refresh the store, but I also enabled 2 new functions for myself at once. Epic Lottery Wheel and Achievement System. System, what's going on with this achievement system? Ding. Reply to the host. After the system completes a specific event, you can get the corresponding achievement. Different achievements can get different effect bonuses. Closing square bracket. Currently has achievements, but the official career is Bumpy, Mastered Advanced Armament Hockey and Observation Hockey, Marine Camp level is below Commodore. Su Ming's eyes twitched. Damn, this achievement shouldn't be called a bumpy official career, it should be called going into business. Who stipulated that just because you are strong you have to be a Marine General and give him achievements? The dog system is too bullying, should I use you to compensate you? Today, Su Ming just needs to stop slacking off. He is exhausted at Naval Headquarters. I am also. Ding. The effect of bumpy official career, when the host's rank is lower than that of Vice Admiral, the business luck value increases by 100%. Damn it, big brother, why didn't you tell me earlier? I'll apply to be transferred to the logistics department tomorrow. I don't care about such a crappy general. I'll enjoy this buff for the rest of my life. At this moment, Su Ming just wanted to hold the bowl and say, it smells so good. Fortunately, the system is not a real person, otherwise it would definitely point fingers at Su Ming and say that he had a bug. After checking out the new features, Su Ming had a general understanding of their effects. Completing different challenges will earn you different achievements. The more difficult the achievement, the higher the reward. Supreme Throne. Gather the 3 ancient weapons to gain the passive skill, King's Pressure, which weakens the opponent's combat power by 40%. However, Su Ming just wanted to see this achievement. If he really collected all 3 ancient weapons, it would not matter whether he had this passive skill or not. If you have the time, just use Pluton to hit him. Who wouldn't be scared when they see it? The combat effectiveness will be weakened by more than 40%. As for the lower level achievements in the achievement system. Donut Killer. Obtained by eating 500 donuts in a row. The host will no longer feel full when eating donuts, but will recover physical strength. Every time 10 donuts are eaten, 100% of physical strength will be restored. The cooldown time is 1 minute. The effect of restoring physical strength is rather useless, but there is no bonus of satiety, which can be used to trick that old man Garp. In short, there are all kinds of achievements in the achievement function, so Su Ming is not in a hurry. Advertisement. I remember that the system seemed to have just mentioned something about the epic roulette in the system store. You can take a look at what good things the refreshed system store has. Opening the store function, Su Ming flipped back a few pages, and his eyes suddenly lit up. The merchandise added to the store this time is obviously of much higher quality than last time. The space bracelet is priced at 500,000 and can store 10 cubic meters of inanimate objects. Closing square bracket. The Great Swordsman Training Manual is priced at 200,000. It records a great swordsman's lifelong understanding of the way of the sword. If you study it seriously, it will be enough for a novice who has never practiced swordsmanship to become a great swordsman in 3 years and a master in 5 years. The price of the True Devil Fruit Encyclopedia is 100,000, and it records some unknown devil fruits and their true potential. Closing square bracket. Su Ming took a look at them and wanted to buy all of them. But my financial resources are limited. I worked hard to save up 1 million lazy points, and they are all here. I didn't dare to spend a single cent. Suddenly, Su Ming saw a sale information. The Conqueror's Hockey Advanced User Manual is priced at 300,000. It records how to upgrade Conqueror's Hockey to the advanced level, as well as all the usage methods of the advanced Conquerors. Su Ming's Conquerors has always been its weak point. He had practiced Conqueror's Entanglement before this year, but he always failed. It's a pity that Kaido is not yet the special teacher he will be in the future, and he is now fighting fiercely with Ming Jie in New World. Otherwise, Su Ming really wanted to ask him what Conqueror's Entanglement was all about. Garp did know how to use it, but using it and being a believer were completely different things. After explaining it several times, Su Ming still couldn't get the point and had to give up temporarily. But now, the manual in the system gave Su Ming hope again. I now have 1 million lazy points in my hand. Although I can exchange them for an epic lottery, I may not necessarily win what I want. But the advanced use of Conqueror's Hockey is what he needs most right now. Su Ming decided to play it safe and learn how to use the advanced Conquerors first. System, exchange for the advanced Conqueror's manual. As Su Ming's mind moved, a large amount of information poured into his mind, which was about the advanced application of Conquerors. Su Ming seemed to have a sudden inspiration and controlled the Conquerors with his will, slowly transferring it to his own hands. A flash of black lightning flashed across the clenched fist at that moment, but it disappeared in a flash. It was the advanced application of Conquerors, Entanglement. But at the moment, Su Ming has only just mastered it and cannot apply it in actual combat. Su Ming let out a long sigh, and finally understood in his heart. It turns out that if you want to reach the Advanced Conqueror's level, in addition to slowly improving, fighting with strong people who have already mastered the Advanced Conqueror's level can also quickly improve. Advertisement. But the prerequisite is that you can withstand the attacks of high-level conquerors. Su Ming suddenly understood why Teacher Kaido's teaching results were so good in the future. King Luffy's aura as the protagonist, coupled with the fact that Teacher Kaido really tried his best to help him quit his king addiction, allowed this kid to quickly master the Advanced Conquerors. Su Ming thought about it and realized that there were only 2 people around him who mastered Advanced Conquerors. One Garp, one Sengoku. However, it seems unlikely that these 2 guys would attack him without reservation with murderous intent. Besides that, there are only a handful of people who can master Advanced Conquerors on the sea right now. As the old era and the new era begin to change, it is quite difficult to find a truly top-notch strong man like Garp Sengoku. Suddenly, Su Ming had an idea. Damn, how could I forget about him? Calculating the time, it won't be long before that guy escapes from prison. This is not ready-made experience. The person Su Ming was thinking of was none other than the Golden Lion that was sent into Impel Down by Garp Sengoku some time ago. As one of the top pirates of the same era as Roger, this guy definitely mastered the Advanced Conquerors. Looks like I need to go to Impel Down sometime. Su Ming was making calculations in his mind. Time goes by day by day. With the help of both money and power, Su Ming's winery was quickly built. Just one production line produced hundreds of thousands of bottles of wine every day, and this was just the beginning. With the help of Marine's warships, Su Ming's drinks began to be sold all over the world. At the same time, Su Ming asked Karina to contact several newspapers and put up advertisements crazily, closely tying his wines and sailing together. With the influence of advertising, drinking has gradually become associated with freedom. A month later, Su Ming finally saw the first batch of profits. In the office, Karina pretended to be calm, holding a notebook and pushing her gold-rimmed glasses, showing her royal sister temperament. This is the net profit for this quarter. Karina placed the account book in front of Su Ming. Su Ming didn't look at the others, only the final statistics. Last month, the net profit of alcoholic beverages was 437 billion Baileys. Su Ming continued to calm himself down. This is much faster than catching pirates. Chapter 65. There are so many talented people in Impel Down, I love it so much. After a long while, Su Ming finally calmed down. The profit from a bottle of wine is about 200 Baileys. In other words, in this month, he sold more than 10 billion bottles of wine. Of course, there is bound to be a lot of fluctuation. After all, in addition to ordinary liquor, Su Ming is also trying to produce some more expensive and higher profit liquor. Su Ming hesitated for 2 seconds, then looked up at Karina and said, let's take 40% of this quarter's net profit, and return 40% of it to the owners who join our bar. The other 60% goes to some remote and poor countries in the name of our bar. The remaining money will be used to keep the bar running for half a year, and then we will continue to increase investment in the production line. Also, be careful of unfamiliar faces recently. The wine industry has already begun to expand, and the world government will definitely take action. After seeing the profits, Su Ming was shocked and the first thing he thought of was world government. Previously, the world government agreed to allow them to do this business, but they had not yet realized the huge profits of this business. Now that profits have begun to emerge, faced with such huge benefits, those who are truly in power will certainly not sit idly by and will definitely try every means to take this industry away from themselves. Su Ming didn't intend to go head to head with these guys. There was never a shortage of strong people in the world government. What we need to do is to feed the greed of these franchise owners before the world government takes action. If the world government takes over the industry, the treatment of these bosses will surely plummet. Going from luxury to frugality will surely make these bosses dissatisfied. It won't be long before the newly formed franchise is disbanded. When the world government realizes that it can no longer do this business, it can easily take back this industry by showing some skills without any hidden dangers. In addition, there is another benefit to doing this. The tougher the world government's attitude towards these bar owners, the more they will miss the days when they ran their own business. Once they know that the industry is back in their hands, they will join again without hesitation. In this way, we can occupy an absolute dominant position in this industrial chain. Over the next 2 months, Su Ming's monthly liquor revenue only increased. But every month Su Ming distributes 40% of the profits. Many bar owners who joined the franchise took the money and cursed Su Ming for being a sucker, while their appetites grew. In the past 2 months, the entire Grand Voyage has ushered in a drinking carnival. As Su Ming expected, the world government soon noticed this matter. In the mansion of the 5 elders in Mariajoy, the Holy Land. You should have heard about what happened recently. The new alcoholic beverage produced by Su Ming actually generates nearly 1 trillion Baileys in revenue every month. Advertisement. But we can only get a few tens of billions of Baileys. The wavy-haired 5 elders, who had disagreed to do business with Su Ming last time, said angrily. On the sofa, 5 elders, who had been holding a long knife, closed his eyes and said slowly, this amount of money is huge and should not flow out. But we have the recipe for his drink. In this way, give him some compensation and let him give up this business. If you agree, then forget it. If you don't agree, The 5 elders slowly opened his eyes, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Hearing this, the other 5 elders were silent for 2 seconds and then raised their heads. Okay, let's do it. This kid seems to be quite capable, so let Naval Headquarters promote him to Vice Admiral. As for the income from alcohol, we won't need it for the next 2 months. It's considered as compensation for this kid. The few of them finalized the matter in a few words, as if the industry that Su Ming had worked so hard to run originally belonged to them. The news soon reached Su Ming through Sengoku. Naval Headquarters, inside Sengoku's office. Su Ming sat on the sofa, sipping tea. Sengoku looked at Su Ming with worry. He had just conveyed the 5 elders' meaning to Su Ming. Kid, don't be impulsive about this matter. That's the world government, understand? He was very worried that the young and energetic Su Ming might do something out of line in anger. If that were the case, there would be no way to end it. But after waiting for a long time, Su Ming on the opposite side seemed to be fine and was still drinking tea leisurely. If I have to say anything special about him, it's that he ate a lot of donuts. He showed off 3 big bags in a short while. Sengoku thought that Su Ming was using this to suppress his anger, so he didn't dare to say anything more. After a long while, seeing that Su Ming did not have any extreme reaction, Sengoku asked again, Su Ming, what are you going to do? Su Ming turned his head to look at Sengoku and reluctantly put down the donuts in his hand. It's not easy to get 500 donuts. Su Ming clapped his hands. What can I do? They are the world government. We can't beat them. Of course I have to give in. Sengoku actually felt relieved when he heard Su Ming say this. Don't worry too much. There are compensations from above. You can be promoted to Vice Admiral, and advertisement. No. Sengoku had just said half of his words when Su Ming suddenly stood up. He looked many times more excited than when he heard that his property had been taken away. What a joke. Su Ming is sure that the wine industry will be returned to the world government sooner or later. But if you upgrade to Marine Vice Admiral, then the 100% business luck bonus buff will be completely gone, which is a huge loss. I don't want to be a Vice Admiral. If you really want compensation, I have my own conditions. Sengoku looked at Su Ming and nodded, you go ahead. First, if they want to take over the wine industry, that's fine, but the world government must make a statement to the world that the wine industry is now completely taken over by them, and the profits and operations have nothing to do with me. Second, they have to pay for the use of the winery during this period, and the wine must be brewed by my people. Third, I will be the logistics chief of the naval headquarters. For the time being, I will be assigned to Impel Down. It is relatively quiet there. Listen to Su Ming's suggestions. Sengoku's eyes twitched. Hey, you are really a talented guy. You are still thinking about slacking off at this time. Is the charm of slacking off really that great? How about touching it yourself when you have time? Somehow, this idea suddenly popped into Sengoku's mind. The next second Sengoku quickly shook his head, suppressing this dangerous thought. He looked at Su Ming again, with a hint of vigilance in his eyes. Good man, you better stay away from this guy from now on. He is too dangerous and contagious. I can agree to your request, but are you really not planning to take up the position of Vice Admiral of this department? With Garp and I here, we will never give you a meaningless position. It's much better than being the head of logistics. Sengoku wants to make it up to Su Ming. Su Ming rolled his eyes. What a joke. If he had real power, he would have to go on missions every day, right? What if I accidentally become a Marine Admiral? I'm so busy every day. Thinking of that kind of day, Su Ming quickly shook his head. What a joke. Marine Admiral, not even a dog should be qualified. It is impossible for me to be the Vice Admiral, so I have to go to Impel Down for further studies. Everyone in Impel Down is talented and speaks nicely. I love this place so much. Chapter 66 Logistics Minister. Faced with Su Ming's request, Sengoku had absolutely no reason to refuse. Okay, if you ask me to. However, it's impossible for you to just be the logistics chief and slack off. Don't be lazy all the time, there's nobody to fill the position of Director Impel Down, so you can go over there and take over for a while. Su Ming sat back on the sofa and started talking. I said Sengoku Admiral, I'm a logistics soldier, and you asked me to be the director of a prison. Is this a career change? He didn't want to take over this troublesome position. Sengoku was so angry that his eyes twitched. You are Garp's apprentice after all. Even if you have admiral-level combat power, if you just mess around like this every day, you will only be a logistics soldier for the rest of your life. Su Ming's eyes lit up when he heard this. Admiral Sengoku, you can't go back on your word. If I keep doing this, you can't transfer me to another position. Sengoku looked at Su Ming, who was so excited, and suddenly felt a little heartache. Get out. Hurry up and take up your post. When it comes to promotion, Su Ming is exactly like Garp. The seat that others were scrambling to get became a problem for them, the master and disciple. Seeing Sengoku's tough attitude, Su Ming curled his lips. Well, it's a hard life. Where can I go to seek justice? My property was taken away and I still have to work for them. Su Ming muttered as he walked out of Sengoku's office. Sengoku's blood pressure soared when he saw Su Ming's nonchalant look, and his back teeth were almost broken. Garp, you really have a good disciple. You have to pay me for this month's blood pressure medication. As a Marine Admiral and the next Marshal, when will I be promoted? Do I have to beg for it? There are only Garp and this guy in the entire Marine. After a moment, Sengoku calmed down. However, this time, this kid didn't do anything extreme. It's hard for him. World government is really going too far. Sengoku felt a little dissatisfied with world government. When faced with huge profits, these guys are no different from robbers. Su Ming returned to the tavern. With money in hand, the tavern naturally needs to be expanded. After spending 100 million Baileys, Su Ming's tavern naturally became the most luxurious bar in the whole of Marineford. Not only do they sell drinks, but they also occasionally offer singing, dancing, magic and other performances. A large open space is left in the middle of the bar for the dance floor, and the first and second floors are completely separated to accommodate individual customers and some guests who don't like crowds. As for the third floor, it is relatively quiet, with people just drinking or talking in the private rooms. These were all created by Karina according to Su Ming's ideas. Advertisement. Although the world government controls the alcoholic beverage industry, the bar business has not been affected much. Large amounts of Baileys still flow into his pocket every day. Sengoku quickly conveyed Su Ming's conditions to the 5 elders. Everyone was a little surprised to hear that Su Ming's request was so simple. The 5 elders, who was leaning on a cane, looked at Sengoku. Did he really say that? Just these 3 requests, nothing else. Sengoku nodded. Su Ming did say that. If you agree to these 3 points, he will hand over the wine industry to the world government. The 5 elders looked at each other in silence. This result was somewhat beyond my expectations. I originally thought that if Su Ming was unwilling to let go of such huge benefits, I would resort to extraordinary means. After all, trillions of Baileys are worth much more than Admiral, Marshal, etc. It is not a pity to wipe out a marine talent for this. But now, well, since Su Ming is so sensible, it would be bad if we continue to push him too hard. We can agree to his conditions. Sengoku, tell us how much you know about this kid. The old man holding the long sword suddenly spoke. Sengoku thought for a moment and said, Su Ming is still young, but he is very strong. Conservatively estimated, he is above the elite vice admiral of the headquarters. But he is a bit lazy, afraid of trouble, and doesn't care much about official titles. But I'm not a brainless person. I know how to consider the consequences before doing anything. Apart from being a little lazy, everything else is pretty good. After hearing this, the 5 elders in the room looked at each other implicitly and nodded. This young man is not bad. He can be trained. Sengoku was a little surprised. Is this kid Su Ming appreciated by the 5 elders? Okay, if you have nothing else to say, you can leave. We still have something to discuss. Sengoku nodded and left the room. Inside the house, the slightly fat bald 5 elders asked, what do you think of this Su Ming? The 5 elders holding the long sword slowly opened their eyes. Yes, this is the person we need. He knows how to advance and retreat, and will not cause trouble for the world government. This incident shows that he still has awe for the world government. As for personality, it's better to be more lazy. Some things are best handled by people with this kind of personality, which can ease conflicts. The 5 elders spoke highly of Su Ming, the man holding a long sword. Advertisement. Then, let him be promoted to admiral. The wavy-haired 5 elders looked at the few people. The other 5 elders pondered. It's still a little too early. Didn't Sengoku assign him to Impel Down? Let's leave him there for now. The next Marine Admiral has already been decided. Well, once we completely take over this wine and beverage industry, let Kong step down. As previously agreed, Sengoku will be promoted to Marshal, and Kuzan, Sakazuki, and Borsellino will be promoted to Admiral. Su Ming boarded the marine warship and rushed to Impel Down. The marine in Impel Down had received the news in advance. When they heard that the naval headquarters had sent a new director, everyone came out early to greet him. Watching the warship slowly approaching the port. Salute. Deputy Director Magellan led the Impel Down and a group of marines to salute the warship. At the same time, he was also waiting to see who this person was who was specially sent from the headquarters to serve as the director of Impel Down. You know, Impel Down is the place where many of the most vicious pirates on the sea are imprisoned. Every director general is extremely strong. However, as the planks were lowered, Su Ming appeared in front of everyone wearing a cool beach suit and breathing heavily. Magellan's eye twitched. The higher-ups sent such a lazy young man to be the director of Impel Down. Magellan couldn't even believe his eyes. Could this be for gilding? What on earth was the headquarters thinking? In a place like Impel Down, not even the slightest mistake can be allowed, yet they actually sent a young man like this here. This department is simply crazy. Even the other marines stationed in Impel Down were bewildered and unable to accept this fact. Before Magellan could react, Su Ming had already walked down the deck and came to his side. This year, Su Ming grew a lot taller and his height is now over 2 meters and 3 meters. But in front of the big man Magellan, he was not even a little bit shorter. Su Ming was speechless. I say, what are you waiting for? No one else is here, just me. If you want to welcome someone, do it sooner rather than later. Everyone finally confirmed that the young man in front of them, who looked a little unreliable, was really the newly appointed director of Impel Down. Chapter 67 I can't carry it, I really can't carry it. Bump. The door to Sengoku's office was violently kicked open by someone outside. Sengoku. Garp rushed in with an angry look on his face, showing no mercy to Sengoku at all. Rushing forward, he grabbed Sengoku by the collar, his eyes wide open. Sengoku, explain to me what's going on. Garp had just returned from a mission and noticed something was wrong as soon as he got back to headquarters. After some inquiries, I found out that Su Ming's wine industry was forcibly taken away by the world government. The compensation given to Su Ming in this matter was pitifully small. Su Ming was simply sent to Impel Down to be a director. Although Garp usually doesn't care much about Su Ming, he is his favorite disciple, which doesn't mean he can allow others to bully him. Sengoku sighed. Garp, calm down first. This matter was also discussed with Su Ming. Bullshit. Do you think I don't know if I don't pay attention? That wine business is the hard work of Su Ming. The world government guys just grabbed it because they saw it was profitable. Are you just an admiral? You can't even take care of the Marine juniors. Okay, if you don't want to do it, I'll do it. I'm going to Mariajoy now to ask for an explanation. Su Ming is a Marine. Is this the attitude of the world government towards the Marines? Garp was excited. Sengoku shook off Garp's hand and shouted angrily, okay Garp, calm down. Do you think we can decide this? With such a huge amount of money, how could the world government remain indifferent? If we insist on letting Su Ming control this business, what do you think will happen? Garp was silent. Both he and Sengoku had worked for the Marine and the world government for half their lives, and they had already understood some of the tricks. Those guys in the world government have never been good guys. If Su Ming is determined to control this industry, the end result will be a complete break with the world government. By then, I'm afraid there will be another addition to the world bounty list. Garp lowered his head, stopped berating Sengoku, and turned to leave the office. Garp, what are you going to do? Sengoku frowned. Garp said without even turning his head, of course I'm going to see that boy. He's my disciple, and as a teacher I should give him some comfort at a time like this. Sengoku said nothing more, nor did he try to stop her. In the face of the world government, this is the only way these old guys can help Su Ming. ... Impel Down. Advertisement. In a blink of an eye, more than half a month has passed since Su Ming came here. Garp's dog-head warship docked at the pier. The guard marine saw that it was Garp and wanted to report. Vice Admiral Garp, you are here. I will report to Director Su Ming right away. Garp waved his hand to stop him. No need, I'll go there myself. Where is he now? This. Guard marine hesitated to speak. Garp frowned. Why, you want me to find it myself? The fist as big as a sandbag was squeezed so hard that it made a crackling sound. Guard marine suddenly became alert and said quickly, no, Director Su Ming is on the first floor of Impel Down. HMPH. Garp glared at the guard and turned to walk towards Impel Down. The guard looked at Garp's back and shook his head silently. Director, I have tried my best. Garp had a smooth journey and soon arrived at the Impel Down floor. Impel Down is a closed environment and a bit stuffy. Looking at this dark and messy environment, Garp couldn't help but feel a little distressed. This kid is in the headquarters, he spends all day in his bar, or at least in the headquarters dormitory. Now he lives in a place like this, I'm afraid he can't get used to it. After all, he is my disciple. Garp thought about how Su Ming was suffering and felt that he should visit Su Ming more often. In the distance, Su Ming's voice could be faintly heard. Garp took 2 quick steps. Turning the corner, Garp saw the scene of the first floor of Impel Down. The scene before him made Garp freeze in place. The emotions that had just been brewing were also crushed by the scene before me. Su Ming was seen lying on a rocking chair, with 2 young and beautiful female prison guards standing on each side of him, one of them holding a fruit plate and feeding Su Ming. The other one held a round fan in his hand and fanned Su Ming, looking very comfortable. Opposite Su Ming, Magellan and Hannibal had notes stuck all over their faces. Su Ming sat up suddenly. King Bomb. Give me money. Magellan and Hannibal looked very distressed. Advertisement. Hey, Director Su Ming, that's enough, right? You've earned all of our second half year's salary in the past half month. We can't work for you like the 2 behind you, so please let us go. If we continue like this, we'll be left with nothing. After Su Ming came to Impel Down, he felt that the people in Impel Down were really idle and had nothing to do all day. Apart from torturing the prisoners, there is no other entertainment program, which will definitely have a great impact on the physical and mental health of these Marines in the long run. Su Ming immediately decided to make a contribution to the physical and mental health of Impel Down Marine. I brought out some simple entertainment methods that I remembered from my previous life. It's not as good as the current game of Landlord. With the addition of entertainment programs, I heard that many Marines who enjoy torturing prisoners have found new ways to entertain themselves. Among them there seems to be one called Yuji Shiryu, who has been addicted to mahjong recently and cannot extricate himself. Sometimes he has to play a few rounds even when he has time during work. Su Ming gave him a severe reprimand and then won 3 months' salary. Garp's forehead was filled with black lines when he heard what Magellan and Hannibal said. It seems that my worries are a bit unnecessary. It feels like this kid is living a very comfortable life here, so there's no need to worry about him at all. There are also young and beautiful female prison guards who feed fruits and give massages. How about you go back to headquarters and I stay here? You little brat. The worried look on Garp's face disappeared, replaced by an unhappy look. Hearing the familiar voice, Su Ming turned his head. Seeing it was Garp, he pounced on him at lightning speed and hugged Garp's thigh. Teacher, you have to make the decision for me. You don't know how hard it is for me to be here. That old guy Sengoku took advantage of your absence to bully me. No, I have to take a vacation, at least a year, to comfort my weak and helpless heart. Garp closed his eyes, a vein throbbing in his forehead. Now he really believed what Sengoku said before, that this kid really came here on his own initiative. Given this kid's nature, he wanted to be lazy and even turned down such a great promotion opportunity, but instead took a sinecure such as Director Impel Down. Sengoku had no idea what Garp was thinking, and if he knew, he would definitely sue loudly. You really underestimated this guy. He didn't get the position of Director of Impel Down. This position still has some things to do. This kid is going to work in logistics, which is a completely useless position. I only pulled this guy back because of your Garp. But that's all it is. I can't pull it anymore. I really can't pull it anymore. Chapter 68 Shiki breaks his leg, what a clever little guy. Time flies, and another 2 months have passed. Su Ming has completely adapted to life here. For someone like me who loves to slack off, this is simply heaven. In addition to regular practice every day, he also uses his advanced ability to play cards and collect the wages of his subordinates. Life is so pleasant every day. If there is anything that is not satisfactory, it is probably the Golden Lion. This guy doesn't seem to have any intention of escaping prison. On the 6th floor of Impel Down, outside an independent cell, Su Ming rubbed his chin, looking at the skinny Golden Lion in prison uniform, and couldn't help frowning. It's been so long, why doesn't this guy run away? Is it because there are no suitable tools? Although he was able to use Conqueror's Hockey Entanglement initially, he still lacked some skills to use it proficiently. Golden Lion was a crucial experience pack for him. But this guy hasn't made any move yet, and Su Ming is a little unhappy. Hey, are you really planning to stay here forever? How about I help you? In the cell, Golden Lion was obviously stunned for a moment, then he seemed to have thought of something and laughed. Haha, kid, I understand what you mean, but don't underestimate Lousy. If you want to join Lousy, wait until Lousy gets out before we talk. The corners of Su Ming's mouth twitched slightly, and he was too lazy to explain. Only a fool would want to join you. I have a bright future in the Marine, where I can slack off all day and get paid. I have Karina at home to help me run the business. I would have to be crazy to follow you to become a desperado at sea. But from what Golden Lion said, the other party didn't want to stay here all the time, so Su Ming felt relieved. He returned to the office, whistled, and picked up the newspaper prepared by his subordinates to start reading. A piece of news in the newspaper caught Su Ming's attention. World government is offering a special promotion for alcoholic beverages, with price cuts. Su Ming had a smile on his face, it seemed that some people had started to panic. Okay. The Den Den Mushi on the table rang. Su Ming picked up the Den Den Mushi and heard Karina's voice. They probably can't hold on any longer. Recently, more than 60% of bar owners have withdrawn from franchising. As soon as the world government came to power, it cut off all the dividends we had previously distributed to those bosses, leaving them with only a small portion of the profits. My Den Den Mushi have been getting so many calls lately, with people asking when you can reopen. Karina said with a smile while sipping red wine elegantly in front of the Den Den Mushi. Advertisement. Su Ming touched his chin with a smile on his face. As that's so, it seems that it is almost done. Then let's do it in the next few days. I'll add fuel to the fire for those old guys in the world government. My things are not so easy to get. Su Ming looked at a Bible on the bookshelf. At dinner, Su Ming walked to the Golden Lion cell with a Bible in his arms. He rolled his eyes at the Golden Lion who was still trying to find a way out. Since this guy hasn't found a suitable opportunity to escape for so long, I can only help him myself. When the meal was delivered to the cell, Su Ming put the Bible aside, and the Golden Lion gave him a meaningful smile. The path to salvation lies within it. After saying that, Su Ming stood up and disappeared into the darkness. Golden Lion frowned and opened his Bible. With a snap, a small saw 1 inch long fell to the ground. Looking at the mini saw in his hand and the shackles on his legs, Golden Lion's eyes showed determination. Back in his office, Su Ming sat back on the sofa. System, can the small saw I exchanged really cut sea stone? Host, rest assured, the system's products must be high quality. This tool is a product of the world of science and technology. The saw blade can be repaired automatically. It only takes 1 day to saw through sea stone. Closing square bracket. Hearing the system say this, Su Ming felt relieved. The world government will certainly not be able to hold out for much longer, so we must demonstrate our strength now. Only in this way can we take the lead in the next round of negotiations. In order to allow Golden Lion to maintain its combat effectiveness to a greater extent and hone its conqueror's skills, Su Ming specially spent 20,000 fishing points to rent a small saw, which was a huge investment. By the way, system, is there any way to take the fruit after killing the Golden Lion? Lion fruit is one of the top devil fruits, and Su Ming doesn't want to give up just like that. Even if you don't use it yourself, you can train some subordinates to use it in the future. Ding. There is an energy isolation device in the mall that can completely isolate energy conduction. The price is 150,000 points. Closing square bracket. Host can redeem this item. After the Golden Lion dies, a fruit in its body can be placed in the device to deprive the devil fruit of its ability. Closing square bracket. It's true. Su Ming originally just asked casually, but he didn't expect that the system really had such a thing. But 150,000 yuan for a spot of slacking off is really not cheap. Thinking of the ability of lion fruit, Su Ming gritted his teeth. Exchange. Advertisement. With a thought, Su Ming had something like a bouncy ball in his hand. Energy isolator disposable, crushing the device can activate it. Su Ming put it away. Just when I was thinking about waiting for 2 days until Golden Lion removed the seastone handcuffs, I could do it myself. Ding a ling a ling. Suddenly, a rapid alarm sounded from Impel Down. The prison guards were out in full force. Oh no. Golden Lion Shiki sawed off his legs and escaped. The Marine on the lower level shouted anxiously. When Su Ming heard this, a frown appeared on his forehead and he was speechless. You are such a clever little guy. If I had known you insisted on sawing off your leg, would I have spent 20,000 yuan to buy you such an awesome saw? But it was useless to say this now. Shiki had already escaped, grabbed the thunder gift on the table, and Su Ming's figure disappeared in an instant, leaving behind a series of tiny arcs of electricity. Impel Down outside. Ha ha ha. Lousy escaped. I'll leave those legs to you as a token of my care during this time. When he said this, a trace of hatred flashed in the Golden Lion's eyes. It's really embarrassing that as a great pirate, he had to saw off his own legs to escape. Just then, a familiar voice sounded behind him. I said, you haven't escaped yet. The Golden Lion turned around suddenly, and in midair, Su Ming was carrying Lacey, looking at him speechlessly. He showed a sinister smile on his face. Haha, it turns out it's you, kid. You came just in time. I, Golden Lion, am not the kind of person who won't repay a favor. Since you want to join Lousy, from today on, you are the captain of my first squadron. Thank you so much, kid. Haha. Golden Lion laughed wildly. Su Ming looked at the Golden Lion like this and covered his face speechlessly. Suddenly I understand why this guy was caught. It's obvious that his brain is not working well. Who said I want to join your pirates group? Golden Lion was stunned. What? You don't want to join Lousy, so why did you help Lousy escape? When Su Ming heard Golden Lion mention this, he became even more depressed. If I told you that the saw can actually cut seastone, you wouldn't be angry, would you? Golden Lion. Looking at his empty legs, the atmosphere became a little awkward for a moment. Chapter 69, Ultimate Ghost Swordsmanship Storm Style. After hearing Su Ming's words, Golden Lion took a while to breathe a sigh of relief. He was sure that Su Ming was not lying because the saw cut off his legs very smoothly. At that time, I thought it was because I was eager to survive, but it turned out that I had misunderstood. You should explain it more clearly. Who would have thought that such a small saw could cut seastone? Golden Lion took a deep breath, feeling aggrieved, but didn't say anything. He looked at Su Ming and said, it doesn't matter. Although you have lost your legs, Lousy doesn't care at all. Having lion fruit doesn't affect your strength. Boy, you can still join Lousy's army. Su Ming looked at Golden Lion and asked if he could wipe his tears before saying goodbye. People are like this. When they know that they have spent more than the original cost to do something, they always feel wronged. It's the same when buying groceries, not to mention that the guy in front of me has an extra pair of legs. Su Ming expressed his understanding. I was originally thinking about whether I should say a few words to comfort this disabled old man who was nearly 50 years old, but suddenly Su Ming's face changed. Within the range of his observation hockey, 1,000 meters away, the Impel Down Marine had already caught up. Clang. The thunder flew out of his body and pointed directly at the Golden Lion. Shut up. You are a heinous pirate. You escaped from Impel Down without permission. Now you dare to try to win over an excellent Marine like me to be your subordinate. You're breaking the law, you know that. Give it to me. Without waiting for Golden Lion to react, Su Ming slashed at it with a knife mixed with electric arcs. Golden Lion hurriedly resisted. In the sky, thunder and sword lights kept interweaving. On the warship, Magellan, Hannibal, and Rain Shiryu were looking at the scene in the air. This is the director. The director is so strong. That's the Golden Lion, and he was stopped. For more than 2 months, Su Ming gave his colleagues in prison the impression of being a playboy. He does nothing all day long, just eating, drinking, enjoying himself, and slacking off. Director Su Ming seems to be particularly keen on slacking off at work. At first, everyone was a little dissatisfied with Su Ming, but after Su Ming got along well with the Marines in Impel Down, everyone found that Su Ming was a good person in other aspects except that he didn't work. At least he didn't have the bad habits of the second-generation soldiers who took advantage of their power to bully others, so they eventually accepted him. Advertisement. But today, the second brother who used to be lazy around him turned out to be a top Marine. It feels like your roommate who eats for free in college suddenly takes out a black card one day and says he is the son of the richest man in the country. Magellan said to Hannibal next to him, pinch me and see if this is true. In midair, the fight between Su Ming and Golden Lion continued. Boy, you are very strong. Let me ask you one last time, do you want to serve under Lousy? Su Ming's answer was to draw his sword and slash. Golden Lion sneered, okay, I get it. I'll show you my true power. I saw black lightning appearing on the two famous swords, Sakura-ten and Kuki, on his legs. It was the advanced conqueror's haki. Die, kid. Use your legs as a knife and chop down hard. Su Ming stared at the knife with his eyes fixed, and also attached conquerors to his own knife. But compared to Golden Lion's, his conqueror's entanglement is not obvious. Boom. There were constant roars in the sky. Black and white keep alternating, like the end of the world. The clouds are divided into two with Su Ming Golden Lion as the boundary, as if the entire sky is divided. On the deck, Magellan, Rain Shiryu and others watched this scene, trembling uncontrollably. What kind of power is this? The two attacks clearly didn't collide. Bump. The hockey on Su Ming's knife still failed to stop Golden Lion. The remaining force of the knife instantly knocked him hundreds of meters away before he stopped. Su Ming lowered his head and covered his chest. Golden Lion sneered, "Boy, I didn't expect you to have conquerors, and you've already reached the threshold of advanced conquerors. It's a pity that you will die at Lousy's hands today. If you are hit by this knife from me, you will be seriously injured even if you don't die." After learning that Su Ming owned conquerors, Golden Lion completely gave up the idea of winning over Su Ming. Once such a person makes a decision, there is almost no possibility of changing it. Moreover, as conquerors, it would be extremely difficult to conquer another one, and I don't have the time to do that now. Before the Golden Lion could attack again, Su Ming slowly raised his head and moved his hand away from his chest. The marine suit was torn into pieces, but under that, Su Ming, who received the blow from the Golden Lion, only had a faint white mark on his body without even a drop of blood. What? How is this possible? Even if a part of his attack was offset by this kid, how could he not be able to break this kid's defense? Advertisement. Su Ming chuckled. After all this time, my physique is finally beginning to show its true potential. Since it is a growth-oriented talent, Su Ming's physical defense was not strong at the beginning. But with repeated training, strength, defense and recovery have all been greatly improved. He had already neutralized more than half of the Golden Lion's attack, and the remaining half was simply unable to break through his defense. That way, you don't have to worry at all. Looking at the Golden Lion, Su Ming showed an unkind smile and rushed forward again with a knife in hand. In each battle, Su Ming's advanced conquerors continued to grow. Finally, at a certain moment, the advanced conqueror's entanglement was successfully mastered. Feeling the terrifying power wrapped around the blade, Su Ming looked at Golden Lion and said, "Thank you very much. If it weren't for you, I don't know how long it would take me to completely master the advanced conquerors. So, today, I will personally send you off." Su Ming slowly closed his eyes, put his right hand together like a sword finger, and drew it across the blade. The thunder in the sky continued to roar. Even a strong man like Golden Lion Shiki could feel a deadly danger at this moment. A flash of lightning extended from the thunder gift. Su Ming opened his eyes suddenly, clenched his hands hard, and a lightsaber condensed with thunder appeared in his hand. Ghost Sword Technique, Phantom Sword Dance. The sword energy entangled with the high-level conquerors seemed to be free of charge, and dozens of swords were slashed out in an instant. The Golden Lion tried his best to resist, but faced with this almost ultimate slash, he was still hit, blood splattered in the air. Golden Lion gritted his teeth and looked at Su Ming fiercely, "Damn it. How can you be so strong?" However, Su Ming's actions did not end there. I saw him throwing the thunder sword in his right hand with force. The sword body is connected to the thunder in the sky. Dazzling lightning struck down, forming 24 lightning swords of various shapes surrounding the Golden Lion. Su Ming's voice sounded again, "Extreme Ghost Sword Technique, Storm Style." The sword light went from slow to fast and pierced through the chest. The sword light blocked the view of the marine, and Su Ming took the opportunity to take out the fruits and energy blockers that he had prepared in advance. As the last sword fell, Golden Lion's life force was completely cut off. While everyone's sight was blocked, Su Ming collected a strangely shaped fruit. Chapter 70. I didn't expect you to be like this. Su Ming carried Golden Lion's body and landed on the deck of the warship. The marine above unconsciously made room for Su Ming. When he looked at Su Ming, there was no longer the contempt in his eyes. "Director." Magellan stepped forward and called out in a low voice. "Huh, what's wrong?" Su Ming looked at Magellan. Magellan pointed at the body of Golden Lion. He's dead." Su Ming nodded. "Yeah, he's dead. How about you check it again?" No, Director, if you say he's dead, then he must be dead." Magellan waved his hands quickly, his eyes full of awe. This was the Golden Lion, a legendary figure who could compete with the pirates' King Roger, and yet he died just like that. Not only Magellan, but also Hannibal, Shiryu of the Rain and the other marines on the deck who came to chase them all had similar expressions when they looked at Su Ming. Could it be that the director who usually seems lazy and unfocused is actually a strong man who can stand shoulder to shoulder with the pirates' King Roger? Su Ming saw through everyone's thoughts and smiled faintly. Golden Lion cut off his own legs, so his fighting power was greatly reduced. In addition, he was tortured in Impel Down for such a long time, and his fighting power was only 1/10 of what it was. It was a fluke that I won. And there has to be pressure from you guys behind the scenes, and he has been a bit confused because of the busyness. Get the reporter from the newspaper here and write a report as soon as possible. This is a great opportunity to take credit. I'm telling you, this article has been written. Not only will you not be punished for this incident, you may even get a few extra months of bonuses. Put away the body of the Golden Lion. Someone will come to check it out when the time comes. Su Ming yawned after he finished speaking. I'm tired from fighting. I need to take a break. You guys can contact the newspaper yourselves. Also, Shiryu, you are not allowed to play cards all night today. Look at the dark circles under your eyes. You are going to die suddenly, do you know that? After saying that, Su Ming turned and walked into the cabin. The Marines left on the deck looked at each other in bewilderment. Director Su Ming, are you going to give the credit to us? Hannibal scratched his head, uncertainly. Magellan hugged his shoulders and looked at the direction where Su Ming left. His eyes became firm. I understand. In fact, Director Su Ming's lazy appearance on weekdays is just a false impression for us. In fact, he wants to hone us. As soon as he finished speaking, the other Marines on the deck also showed surprised expressions. Advertisement. So, we didn't understand Director Su Ming's intentions at all before. How could I be so stupid as to underestimate him? But why does Director Su Ming want to take our wages every day? A Marine who just received his wages last night asked puzzledly. As soon as he finished speaking, Rain Shiryu slapped the Marine on the back of the head. Bang. Idiot. That's the commander trying to temper our will. I've heard the director say that before. How did he say that? Yes, if you want to do great things, you have to starve. That's about it. Inside the cabin, Su Ming, who had just laid down on the bed, had a strange look on his face. He heard what Shiryu said, but when had he ever been so fed up with chicken soup? At the beginning, I won money from him. Seeing that he was hesitant to pay, I said that those who achieve great things do not care about trivial matters. I also lied to him and said that if God gives a person a great responsibility, he must live up to his mission. That's why I deducted 2 months' salary from him. Unexpectedly, this guy actually understood it as chicken soup article. Wow, I didn't expect you to be such a Rain Shiryu, and also a master of success. Ignoring the noisy Marine on the deck, Su Ming lay on the bed, feeling the advanced conquerors that he had successfully mastered. From today on, I can truly be considered to have entered the ranks of the top powerhouses. Now I have money and strength, so I can be more happy to slack off in the future. But before that, you have to get back what belongs to you. Holy Land Mariajoy, the residence of the 5 elders. What the hell is going on? Why did Su Ming, who used to run such a profitable business, end up like this now? 5 elders, who was leaning on a cane, was holding the financial statement that had just been handed over by the people below. It says that the financial profit last month was 41.2 billion Baileys. Compared to when Su Ming was in charge, the profit has shrunk tenfold. This is outrageous. If Su Ming hadn't handed over the entire industrial chain to them, several people would have suspected that Su Ming was hiding something. The curly-haired 5 elders took the financial report, looked at it, and sighed, it's the bar owners. Advertisement. Since we took over, these guys have withdrawn from this business. Hearing this, the somewhat plump 5 elders on the sofa frowned and said, could it be that Su Ming's doing? The curly-haired 5 elders shook his head. No, it's not his problem. It's because the bar owners are asking for too much profit. A bunch of untouchables actually want to share profits with the world government. If we really give them the profits they want, they will account for more than 60% of the revenue of this industry. And we need to spend a lot of energy to take care of this matter. If you calculate it this way, it's not worth it. When the 5 elders, who were holding a long knife in their arms, heard this, they couldn't help but curse inwardly. Damn it, what's the difference between this and the profits we made when that kid was running the business? Several people were silent. They could say that they had worked hard for 2 months, but had not made any money and had offended a lot of people. Since the world government took over the liquor business, there was no need to talk about military spending on the Marine side. Sengoku and other high-ranking Marines were very dissatisfied with this matter. As Garp's disciple, Su Ming himself has the potential to become an admiral-level fighter. After this incident, his loyalty to the world government will definitely decrease. In the past 2 months, several people have focused most of their energy on this industry, and this is the result. Inside the house, several 5 elders fell silent. After a while, the 5 elder leaning on a cane said, how about handing this property over to that kid again? No one spoke. This incident is simply a case of pulling a mill with bare buttocks and losing a lot of people. No one would dare to ask Su Ming to take over this mess now. After a long while, 5 elders, who still had curly hair, spoke up, why don't we let Sengoku find out what that kid means? But we absolutely cannot accept only 5% profit, it must be at least 10%. If that kid agrees, we can return the property to him. Okay. The Den Den Mushi suddenly rang on the table. The curly-haired 5 elders picked up the Den Den Mushi and listened to the message coming from it, his expression becoming serious. Den Den Mushi hung up, and the others looked at the 5 elders, and heard him say in a deep voice, I'm afraid we have to change our plan. Golden Lion is dead. He was killed by that kid Su Ming. His current strength has undoubtedly reached the admiral level. We can no longer ignore his feelings like before. Let's deal with the liquor business as soon as possible, our new world might produce another Rocks pirate. Chapter 71 Meeting with 5 elders. There doesn't seem to be much difference between admiral-level combat power and combat power close to admiral level. But in fact, there is still a lot of difference here. To become an admiral-level fighter, one must have extremely high attainments in observation hockey, armament hockey, or physical skills. Just like Kizaru, who was always looked down upon by Zephyr, even though he was always said to rely heavily on the power of his fruit. But if it comes to pure physical skills, Kizaru can still beat the elite vice-admirals of the headquarters. Needless to say, his swordsmanship was of course very good. To be able to compete with Pluton Rayleigh in swordsmanship, he couldn't be bad at all. Of course, whether there is any acting involved is unknown. In the office, several five elders all frowned. Just got news that Golden Lion cut off his own legs and escaped from prison. Although the news reported was that the Impel Down Marines were there to stop the enemy, in fact, there was only Su Ming. The curly-haired five elders said in a deep voice. Five elders, holding a long knife in his arms, frowned. What a troublesome kid. Judging from his actions, he seems to have the same personality as Garp. These guys are often the most difficult to deal with. He doesn't want a military rank, and he doesn't care about anything in particular. If he's pushed too hard, he'll probably defect from the Marine Corps. The situation on the sea is already turbulent enough right now, we can't let this kind of guy take over our opposition. Hearing this, the remaining five elders looked at each other and asked, so, this wine business. Give it back to him. It won't be of much value to us anyway. Just think of it as winning him over. However, the benefits gained by the world government cannot be 5%. The price must be raised. Naval headquarters. Such a big thing happened in Impel Down, and Su Ming, as the current director, must come back and explain it in detail. However, as soon as Su Ming opened the door of Sengoku's office, he found that the atmosphere in the room seemed a little wrong. Sengoku, Garp, Zephyr, and Crane were all there. What are you doing? Su Ming was a little embarrassed, thinking he had broken into the meeting room. But I heard Garp say, come in, kid, we're all waiting for you. Advertisement. After hearing this, Su Ming walked into the house. Although Su Ming is usually lazy when he comes here, there are really too many people present today, so Su Ming can't help feeling a little restrained. By the window, he looked at Su Ming curiously with a smile on his face. Zephyr also stroked his chin with an admiring look on his face. Sengoku sat behind his desk, resting his chin on his hand, looking at Su Ming expressionlessly. Only Garp was still sitting on the sofa, eating donuts. Su Ming half-jokingly said, I say, if you have something to say, can't you just tell me directly? If you look at me like that, I'll think you have some bad intentions towards me. Garp rolled his eyes. All right, kid, I won't tease you anymore. Tell me, what exactly happened to Golden Lion? Also, the world government sent Sengoku to tell you that you can continue to operate your wine business, but you have to give up another 10% of the profits. Su Ming finally understood what was going on after hearing this. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, hey, I thought it was something else. Why didn't you tell me earlier? You're so mysterious. The Golden Lion sawed off his own legs, and was then stopped by our brave and fearless Impel Down Marines. But that guy was too fierce, and I accidentally killed him. We have to consider this as legitimate defense and not punish you, otherwise you Marine executives will lose the support of the people. Su Ming looked serious. In the office, except for Crane and Garp, Sengoku and Zephyr were all confused. Sengoku gritted his teeth in anger. Good boy, we take care of you so well all the time, but you think we are fools, right? What a pity that he accidentally killed it, mistaking the Golden Lion for a rabbit. Tell me clearly, what's going on? Sengoku tried to suppress his anger. Garp clapped his hands and finally finished the donut. Don't worry, little brat. There's no one here. We all know the strength of Golden Lion. Although we thought you would become a strong man of this level sooner or later, we didn't expect it to be so soon. Also, you were the one who helped Golden Lion escape from prison. Don't think that what you did is a secret. If it weren't for us old guys, do you think this matter could be hidden from the world government? But you are really cruel. In order to keep Golden Lion under control, you forced him to saw off his legs. Su Ming smiled awkwardly. Haha, it's mainly because he's brave enough. Well, I killed him, mainly to train hockey. Advertisement. Moreover, the wine industry has suffered heavy losses since world government took over. Given the personalities of those people above them, they will definitely hand it over to me. If I don't show my strength now, I don't know how they will exploit me. Hearing Su Ming say this, several people in the office nodded, and felt that what Su Ming said made sense. He looked at Su Ming with interest and asked with a smile, so, have you figured out how to negotiate with the world government? Su Ming smiled slightly and said, let's first talk about what the world government said. The world government must have asked Sengoku Admiral to pass on the message. Sengoku rolled his eyes and snorted, you kid, the world government said that the wine business can be returned to you, but the previous profit was too low, and it needs to be increased to 15%. Su Ming sneered, haha, this is exactly the style of the world government. They are really ruthless. Please, Admiral Sengoku, tell them that we can discuss this deal, but I want to meet them in person. If you don't agree, I'd rather not take over the wine business. I'm not short of money anyway. Garp glared at Su Ming and said, stop talking nonsense, you little brat. Su Ming's words already contained a hint of threat. The last Rocks pirate who threatened world government is now part of history. Su Ming chuckled and said, it's okay. When doing business, of course we have to be equal. Only in this way can it last long. If you chase after others, it's not a good deal. Before, the world government wanted this industry, but I handed it over without saying a word. Now that he can't run the business anymore, he wants me to take over. Of course I have to negotiate terms. I'm not a pirate. Does that mean the finances must be confiscated? Su Ming spoke lightly, but Sengoku and others in the office all heard the hidden meaning in Su Ming's words. Su Ming is not a pirate, but if the world government continues to be so domineering, then it is hard to guarantee what will happen. By then, This guy will go to New World and continue to run the business, but the world government won't get a penny. Looking at Sengoku, Su Ming smiled faintly and said, Admiral Sengoku, please tell them this. No matter what, I am also a member of the Marine. If I get benefits, the Marine will also be better off. I guessed right. During the time when the world government took over, the extra military budget was gone. Senior Sengoku, you are about to be appointed as the field marshal. Shouldn't you consider things from the perspective of the entire Marine Army? You know, that military budget may be just a number in your eyes, but when it is distributed to the lower levels, it can replenish equipment for many bases and protect many islands from pirate invasions. Su Ming clicked his tongue and shook his head, looking regretful. Sengoku listened to Su Ming's words and fell into deep thought. In just a few words, Su Ming not only stated his position, but also pulled Marine to his side. Su Ming smiled in his heart. This was exactly the effect he wanted. If he wanted to threaten the world government, he couldn't do it alone. He had to tie the huge Marine organization firmly to himself. Only in this way can you have enough bargaining chips. Chapter 72. Have you ever heard of taxation? Inside the Five Elders meeting room in Mariajoy, Holy Land. While Su Ming was looking at the five old men in front of him curiously, the five elders were also looking at him curiously. Are you Su Ming? Five elders, who was leaning on a cane, asked in a deep voice. Su Ming smiled and nodded, bowed to the people and said, Yes, Marine Logistics Director Su Ming, nice to meet you gentlemen. One of the five elders said, I heard from Sengoku that you must meet us in person. Yes, I think some things are better discussed face to face. After all, the stakes involved are not small. Su Ming spoke neither humbly nor arrogantly, and even without waiting for the five elders' permission, he sat directly opposite them. The five elders holding the long sword on the sofa looked at Su Ming's actions and frowned slightly. Then Su Ming said, If you want to keep the business long-term, you have to ensure fairness. I believe you don't want such a good business to fail after just a short period of time. Killing the goose that lays the eggs is never a smart move. Su Ming smiled as he looked at the five elders who were holding a long knife in their arms. The atmosphere in the office began to become tense. The five elders exuded a vague aura and pressed towards Su Ming. Su Ming remained calm. A flash of electricity appeared in the corner of his eyes, and the thunder in the sheath at his waist made a slight buzzing sound, which was not loud but went straight to people's hearts. Like an invisible sharp blade. With a bang, the vase between Su Ming and the five elders suddenly exploded without any warning. This sudden sound also broke the deadlock between the two sides. It seems that you really killed the golden lion. One of the five elders said in a deep voice. Su Ming just smiled and didn't respond. The few people just now were actually testing him. I want to see if I really have the strength of an admiral, and then decide how to treat myself. These few cunning guys are obviously the kind of people who won't release the eagle until they see the rabbit. The curly-haired five elders waved his hand, and the servants took away the broken vase. Everyone in the room left, leaving only Su Ming and five elders. Okay, now that there's no one else around, kid, you can say whatever you want to say. But I'd like to inform you in advance that the world government's conditions will not change. I will never accept a 5% profit. The minimum profit is 15%. The five elders, who are overweight, have a tough attitude. Advertisement. Su Ming raised his eyebrows slightly. I understand what you mean. But please forgive me for being blunt, I can't possibly agree to that. What? Several five elders couldn't believe their ears. If you don't agree, then what are you doing here? Are you trying to make fun of us? If this is true, then this kid is really looking for death. The majesty of the world government is inviolable, and the five elders are not a place where people can have fun with them. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became tense, and the five elders, who were holding knives, opened their eyes, with murderous intent in their eyes. Su Ming was not in a hurry and smiled. Please be patient, everyone. Although I can't agree to your request, it doesn't mean that we can't talk about it. There are many kinds of interests, not necessarily Bailey. You are all important people. It would be vulgar to only talk about money. Oh, then what do you want to talk about? Or do you have anything else that the world government would be interested in? Five elders, who was leaning on a gentleman's cane, sneered. Su Ming raised his eyebrows, clapped his hands, and smiled at them. What a coincidence, I really have it. Something that can change the world. As soon as the words fell, the eyes of several five elders in the room were all fixed on Su Ming. Think it over carefully, kid. Could it be that this kid has mastered the blank 100 years, or has he mastered Poseidon or Pluton? In this world, most people who dare to say such things are in this situation. If that's the case, then even if we don't do this business, we can't let this kid leave here alive. Otherwise, who knows what kind of damage it will cause to the world government. Su Ming spread his hands, raised his eyebrows and smiled faintly. I say, why are you so nervous? I just want to talk about the business strategy of world government. What are you thinking? Five elders, you want to scare people to death, don't you know that the nerves of the elderly cannot be easily teased? If you have anything to say it all at once. Said the curly-haired five elders gritting his teeth. What on earth did Garp teach us? Could he have done it on purpose to torture us? Su Ming laughed dryly. Don't you think the way the world government makes money now is really disgraceful? And it's inefficient. I don't know how much the world government's annual revenue is, but judging by the attitudes of the people towards Pele, it certainly isn't that much. Even so, the celestial dragons will still take a large portion of it. Advertisement. In fact, making money can be a very respectable thing. It can even make the lower class people grateful to the world government while plundering the finances. Look at the present moment, tisk tisk tisk. Su Ming smacked his lips and shook his head, looking regretful. Humph, that sounds nice, but you are just a young boy. Do you have any better ideas? Su Ming smiled and said, it's very simple. Have you ever heard of collecting taxes? The five elders looked at each other, bewildered. Collecting taxes, what is collecting taxes? The political system in the Pirates King world is not perfect at all. To be honest, in Su Ming's eyes, none of these old guys have any political talent. The reason why he can sit in this position and manage the world government is more because of his good rebirth. If we really talk about management, Su Ming, a top executive of a top company in his previous life, is definitely miles ahead of them. Su Ming explained the tax laws and various taxes of his previous life to the five elders one by one. Such as business tax, value-added fee, consumption tax. Several five elders' eyes lit up when they heard it. The world government can completely cancel the fees for member states and the fees imposed on civilians, and use taxation as a method to maintain the stability of the world government. Once this policy is implemented, the world government will basically no longer have to worry about Pele. Of course, if you are worried, you can use my industry as an experiment first. I will implement this taxation plan. The funds collected from the taxation will be provided to the Marine for military expenses, which is the largest expenditure of the world government right now. During this period, the world government can save some money, and when it feels that this method is mature, it can use these funds to promote it. Su Ming revealed his true thoughts. From the very beginning, if he wanted to keep this property, he had to tie Marine to himself. The best way is to start with military spending. However, if I bring it up directly, the world government will definitely not agree. But after I mentioned the greater temptation, this thing went from impossible to possible. The tax benefits are so huge that it is impossible not to be tempted. However, in order to implement this plan, there will be a long transition period. That is to say, without Su Ming's financial support, this plan cannot be implemented at all. What's more, even if money is not needed, Su Ming still has a specific implementation method in mind. At this moment, the five elders looked at Su Ming in front of them again. This guy was not lying. He really had a way to change the world. You can't treat this guy the same way you treat any other Marine. Chapter 73. Su Ming, do you want to be an admiral? Inside the house, the five elders looked at Su Ming, who was sitting opposite them, still calm and composed. After a long while, five elders, who was leaning on a cane, spoke again. Su Ming, do you want to serve as admiral? Operator. Oh, operator, what? Su Ming was obviously stunned for a moment, then he reacted and quickly shook his head. No, forget it. Several people looked at Su Ming. Why? This is the seat that many people dream of sitting on. You are still young. It is possible for you to become an admiral now and hone your skills for a few years before becoming a marine marshal. As long as you nod, you will be the admiral this time. As long as you serve the world government with peace of mind, the position of marshal will be yours in the future. Five elders, who was leaning on a cane, looked serious. The other five elders thought about it and nodded. I agree. Su Ming, as long as you agree, you can be the admiral this time. Admiral, before you're even 20, you'll definitely be famous. Several five elders patiently guided him. Su Ming couldn't help but roll his eyes in his heart, looked at them with an awkward smile, and scratched his head. Well, I appreciate your kindness, but forget about being an admiral or something. I'm a lazy person, so being a logistics director is actually pretty good. It's a lot less busy. If I have to be the admiral, there will be chaos in the Marine Corps. Are you kidding? You have to be really sick to be an admiral. Now I have just reached a cooperative relationship with five elders. As long as this business lasts, these old guys in front of me will not dare to yell in front of me. But once you become an admiral, the nature of the matter changes, and you become a subordinate of several people. Then you can use them however you want, right? As for the marshal, it is even less likely that I would worry about that. After the Summit War, Kuzan and Sakazuki fought so hard for the position of marshal that their brains almost exploded. Is it because you feel uncomfortable slacking off at work, or is it because the drinks in the bar are not tasty, so you have to suffer this? Seeing that the five elders still had no intention of giving up, Su Ming sighed and said, I understand what you mean. Some things don't need to be explained too thoroughly. We can make an agreement here. As long as the world government does not do anything out of line against me, my property will always be under the name of the world government. As for me being the admiral, forget it. There are plenty of suitable candidates in the naval headquarters now. Advertisement. Kuzan, Sakazuki, Borsellino, these are all good candidates. Su Ming shrugged. Seeing that Su Ming had said this, the five elders looked at each other and sighed. Okay, you need to keep today's matter secret. I hope you can keep your word. Sengoku will discuss the marine side with you. The world government will send supervisors to check the flow of military funds. Su Ming smiled faintly and nodded, no problem. In addition, I recently plan to open some entertainment facilities on the islands in the first half of the Grand Line. Please talk to the people below and make it convenient for you. The five elders, who had gained some weight, nodded and said, we'll give you instructions later. Unconsciously, the five elders had completely put down their airs in front of Su Ming and talked to him as equals. Su Ming stood up and saluted to them again with a smile. This time, the five elders on the opposite side also stood up. Although they did not make any movements, this already contained a lot of meaning. Watching Su Ming leave the office, the 5 elders looked at each other again. This is a dangerous guy, more dangerous than Roger, Rox, and Golden Lion. The five elders evaluated Su Ming at the first opportunity. In the conversation just now, Su Ming looked harmless, but he just casually mentioned a plan that could solve the world government's funding problem. Moreover, Su Ming has many ways to create wealth. The most troublesome thing is that this guy doesn't care about anything and he even refuses power and status. The positions of admiral and marshal were right in front of him, but he refused without even thinking twice. As for beauties, this guy is so young, has such ability, and has a lot of wealth. No matter how you think about it, he doesn't seem like someone who is short of beauties. Should we get rid of him or win him over? For someone like Su Ming, there are only two options, either be on the same front with him, or make him disappear completely. The 5 elders holding the long sword looked at the direction where Su Ming left. That kid is very powerful. He is probably more than just an admiral. They were silent again. The 5 elders holding the long sword is considered to be the strongest among the few people. What he said shows that Su Ming is really not simple. And Su Ming is not just a person, he is also Garp's disciple. If you mess with him, Garp, Sengoku, Zephyr and even Crane will have big emotions. Then we can only win them over. Advertisement. But he doesn't even want the position of marshal, how can we win him over? Suddenly, 5 elders, who was leaning on a cane, thought of something and said, how about we ask Lord Yim for advice? Upon hearing this, the other 5 elders paused. This. To disturb Lord Yim for such a kid, isn't it a bit? The 5 elders, who was leaning on a cane, added, I think it is still necessary to report. Perhaps this kid is not worthy of Lord Yim's attention, but the method he proposed is indeed desirable. At least we can ask whether this plan can be implemented. Hearing this, the other 5 elders were silent for 2 seconds, and then nodded. Okay, then let's go ask Lord Yimu now. An ancient castle in the deepest part of the holy land of Mariajoy, among the flowers. A high throne is displayed on the high stairs. That is the pinnacle of power that even celestial dragons cannot reach. The 5 elders announced that the throne was an empty seat, and the broken weapons around the throne were the contract made by the 20 kings after the battle. However, at this moment, a figure appeared on that seat. The figure was blocked by the sunlight and only a blurry outline could be seen. He has a slender figure and wears a crown with 4 tall spikes on his head. None of the 5 elders knelt at the foot of the stairs, heads lowered, not daring to overstep the boundaries in the slightest. Lord Yim, I'm sorry for disturbing you, but there is a very important matter that needs your decision right now. The 5 elders holding the gentleman's cane took the lead. On the throne, Yim slowly opened his eyes, and the gaze reflected in his red pupils was like ice that had frozen 10,000 years. The 5 elders in the audience quickly told Su Ming about his situation and the proposed plan. Then he continued to kneel on the ground honestly and wait quietly. Yim supported his chin with one hand, leaning lazily on the throne, and spoke after a moment. He's an interesting guy. I didn't expect that besides the D clan, there are such interesting people in this world. Let's observe him for a while. If he is really a useful person, we can absorb him into the celestial dragons. Also, you 5, what that kid said is right. After all these years, you haven't thought of such a simple solution. You are really incompetent. Chapter 74 Garp, you just want to take advantage of Roger. Naval Headquarters, Sengoku's office, he had just answered a call on Den Mushi and now had a complicated expression on his face. Suru sat on the sofa, looking at Sengoku's expression, and asked in confusion, why, that Den Mushi just now was 5 elders, right? Sengoku nodded. Yes, the 5 elders just gave me an order. What instructions? He asked curiously. From today on, Su Ming will be solely responsible for accepting marine military expenses. The world government will send inspectors. The expression on his face was obviously stunned for a moment. He put down the teacup in his hand, took a deep breath and said, I really didn't expect that this kid actually did it. In that case, let's return his wine and beverage business to him. Tisk, this is the first time I've seen the world government bow its head in all these years. I wonder what this guy said to the 5 elders. Sengoku stood up and walked out of the office. It doesn't matter what that kid said, I'm going to go out for a while. Really, I'm the boss, but I have to go see that guy in person. Sengoku suddenly felt depressed. Just now in Den Mushi, the 5 elders specifically instructed that Su Ming must not be treated like an ordinary marine and must be treated with sufficient respect. Is this human language? As a marine admiral who is about to be promoted to marshal, I have to respect a colonel-level logistics chief. When Sengoku heard this, he almost vomited blood. This kid who slacks off all day long actually ended up taking advantage of me. Marineford, office. Karina pushed open the office door and saw Su Ming holding a wine glass in one hand and humming a little tune, looking very happy. Karina smiled and said, have you finished talking to Admiral Sengoku? Su Ming raised his eyebrows, turned around and smiled at Karina, we've finished the discussion. From today on, the Marine's military expenses can be taken over by us. The alcohol that was stockpiled in the past few months can now be sold in large quantities. Also, the world government has already made arrangements with the people below, so we can start building the entertainment industry we mentioned. During the time when the 5 elders were busy seizing industries, Su Ming was not really idle. Instead, He took the opportunity to accumulate a large amount of liquor, waiting to release them all to the market at once, allowing his bar and specialty liquors to quickly occupy the entire market. Advertisement. Time flies, and another 2 months have passed. With the support of 5 elders, Su Ming was able to live a peaceful life as he wished. In the first half of the Great Voyage, there are night bars on almost every island. The drinks produced by Su Ming have become a necessity for every person going out to sea. As for himself, he earned a lot of points by slacking off every day, and after training he would go and flirt with Karina, Gion and Hina. Life is so pleasant. In order to prevent celestial dragons from disrupting his business, Su Ming specially asked Karina to produce some limited edition alcoholic beverages. Although the taste is similar to ordinary alcoholic beverages, the packaging is more refined, intentionally or unintentionally labeling this type of alcoholic beverage as a symbol of status. When the rich and stupid celestial dragons in the Holy Land heard the news, they immediately bid up the price of this wine to a sky-high level, with each bottle worth up to 1 billion berries. Even more outrageous than devil fruit. When Karina heard the news for the first time, she was shocked. She really couldn't understand how a bottle of wine that ordinary people drink costs 300 Baileys, plus 100 Baileys of packaging, could be sold at a sky-high price of 1 billion Baileys. Su Ming just smiled and said, "We'll release 2 more ads later, saying that there are 24 limited edition drinks, 1 each year, and the quantity will decrease. There will also be a secret anti-counterfeiting mark on the bottle. If you collect all 24 bottles of alcoholic beverages, you can redeem them for a Night Bar Supreme membership card, which gives you free bills at the Night Bar for life." Anyway, those celestial dragons in the Holy Land who are stupid and rich have nothing to do all day, so let them experience the joy of collecting cards and make money at the same time. As Su Ming expected, the whole world was in an uproar after the news was released. With the expansion of Su Ming, Night Bar is no longer just a bar, but is also connected to various surrounding entertainment facilities. Anyone who can get such a membership card will never have to worry about food and drink for the rest of his life. For the nobles, this card is a symbol of status. Nowadays, if any noble family does not have 2 bottles of Su Ming's limited edition wine, they would be embarrassed to say hello when going out in the circle. That day, Su Ming had just finished training, and when he returned to the private room, he saw Garp sitting on the sofa drinking alone. Su Ming raised his eyebrows, sat down opposite Garp, and poured himself a glass. "What's the matter, old man? Did you get rejected and come to my place to get drunk?" Garp's expression froze. He glared at Su Ming but still said nothing. Su Ming smiled. It seemed that the old man really had some troubles, so he stopped teasing him. "By the way, old man, I haven't seen you in the headquarters for the past 2 months. Where have you been?" Hearing this, Garp put down his glass and sighed. "Hey, kid, I have something to ask you to help me with." Advertisement. Tell me, how can you hide a person so that he or she won't be discovered for a lifetime? Su Ming raised his eyebrows and asked, "Are you hiding someone?" PFF'd. Garp spat out a mouthful of wine. "Get out of here and get down to business." Su Ming chuckled twice and put down the wine glass in his hand. He looked at Garp in front of him, calculated the time, and guessed what was bothering Garp. Roger's bloodline, Ace. This was the only thing that could make the carefree Garp look like this. Su Ming touched his chin and thought for a while. If it were me, if I wanted to hide someone, the first step would be to let him die in front of other people's eyes. Garp was stunned. Dead. Su Ming nodded. That's right. Dead people will no longer attract attention. If we hide them now, as long as they don't explode, they will never be discovered in our lifetime. Garp's eyes suddenly lit up. This kid is simply a Tibetan genius. Why didn't I think of this before? The most annoying thing about Ace is his identity, but if Marine claims that Roger's child is dead, who will pay attention to a child like Ace? Garp was about to stand up when Su Ming spoke again. However, this method has a disadvantage. The person who is hidden will no longer be himself. Garp calmed down again. Yes, although he could save Ace's life, to the world, he would no longer be Roger's son. Garp sat back on the sofa, sighed, drank the rest of the drink in his glass, and looked up at Su Ming. "Boy, Roger actually has a son. I promised him that I would protect his only bloodline. You know what I mean." Su Ming shrugged. "So you found him now?" Garp nodded. "Yes, I have found him." Su Ming looked at Garp. "What about him now?" "He is my grandson now. I want to keep him. What do you think?" Su Ming touched his chin and was silent for 2 seconds. "I think you are a bad old man and you want to take advantage of Roger." Garp. Chapter 75. A shoe passed down to the 3rd generation, the man left but the shoe remains. After listening to Su Ming's proposal, Garp still couldn't make a decision. In his heart, he still wanted to retain his identity as Ace. This was his promise to Roger. Su Ming could only shrug and say he could do nothing to help. In the private room, Garp stood up and said, "Pack up and come with me to East Blue." Ah, Su Ming didn't understand. "Ah, what? I'm going to go see that kid and ask him what he thinks." "You can come along so I can explain the pros and cons clearly." Su Ming was speechless and rolled his eyes at Garp. "Old man, I'm in this frame, right? You play the good guy and I play the bad guy. You wish. No, you can find whoever you want. If you ask someone to change their surname and tell them, won't their child hate you to death when he grows up?" Garp said sternly, "You sure you don't want to go, little brat?" Su Ming looked at the ceiling, not caring about it. "If you ask me to be his grandfather, I will go." Garp. Garp suddenly felt a little regretful that he had trained this kid too lightly. Damn it, this kid is growing too fast. Before I could let him experience the power of the Iron Fist of Love, he couldn't fight anymore. Suddenly, Garp thought of something. Oh, that's it. That's a shame. In fact, before I came here, I was discussing with Sengoku whether we should give up the military rank and promote you to the treatment of Vice Admiral. Ding. Reminder to the host. If the host's treatment is upgraded to the Vice Admiral level, the daily slacking points will also be increased accordingly, and the achievement buff effect can be maintained. Vice Admiral level, you can get 2,000 slacking points every hour. Closing square bracket. Swish. A gust of wind passed by Garp, and Su Ming appeared in front of him and grabbed his hand. You are being polite, old man. I am the best at convincing rebellious kids. Come on, go to East Blue. I can't wait to see my oldest nephew. I'm going to prepare the ship now. We agreed that you must give me Vice Admiral level treatment when I return, but I won't fulfill any obligations. Su Ming ran out of the private room like a gust of wind. Garp's eyes twitched as he watched Su Ming's disappearing back. Who said this guy doesn't love power and status? It's not that he doesn't love her, he's just afraid of trouble. Look at what happens if you don't let him take responsibility. He really wants to be a marshal. Instead of taking the warship, the few of them took Su Ming's private merchant ship to East Blue in order not to attract attention. But even so, a familiar face came to the port. A young man wearing a windbreaker and slightly older than Su Ming stood at the port. Garp frowned. Huh, this brat is here too. Advertisement. Who? Su Ming was curious. My son, Monkey D. Dragon. Su Ming's eyes lit up. The man at the port was the future leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon. Su Ming was very curious about him. You know, in the comics, most of his identity and background are still a mystery. Especially the tattoos on the face. Su Ming turned to look at Garp and suddenly said, well, old man, lift your feet so I can see the soles of your shoes. Garp froze for a moment, but still lifted his foot. Su Ming shook his head regretfully. The soles of the old man's shoes do not match the tattoo on Long's face. Suddenly, Su Ming noticed the shoes that Garp had thrown aside. The shoe print below is exactly what the dragon tattoo will look like in the future. Wow, if I'm not mistaken, these slippers should be what Luffy will wear in the future. Noticing Su Ming's gaze, Garp hurried forward and hid his slippers behind him. Don't try to take my slippers, you little brat. I want to pass them on to my grandson in the future. This is an old treasure. I wore it when I signed up to be a Marine. Su Ming was terrified when he thought about it. Isn't this the exclusive weapon of the 5 emperors in the future, the supreme black shoes? I am lucky enough to see it here. And judging from what Garp means, they want to pass the shoe on to the 3rd generation. Will the person leave but the shoe remains? Okay, now I understand everything. Su Ming smiled awkwardly. It's okay, don't worry, I promise not to steal your precious baby. After getting off the boat, Garp took Su Ming to Long's side. Humph, you still remember to pick me up. Long didn't seem to be very talkative, and the words, I have something on my mind, were almost written on his face. Let me introduce you. This is my disciple, Su Ming. He is now the Marine Logistics Director. Garp felt a little angry when he mentioned this position. His original intention was to train a great Marine, but he ended up training a nouveau riche. Su Ming nodded at Long as a greeting. However, Long, who rarely talked to Garp, spoke to him. Su Ming, the boss behind the night bar. I have heard of your name for a long time. I heard that Golden Lion died in your hands. It's amazing that he has such strength at this age. Su Ming raised his eyebrows. Wow, this guy knows a lot. Advertisement. It seems that although Long did not join the Marine, he was not idle outside. Garp burst out laughing after hearing this. He felt very honored by Long's praise for Su Ming. Alright, we can talk later. I need to go check on Ace first. You two seem to have something in common. Go ahead and chat. After saying that, Garp turned to look at Su Ming and said, I'll find you later. Please help me persuade that kid. Su Ming smiled slightly. As long as you keep your word, old man, everything will be fine. After Garp left, Su Ming looked at the dragon in front of him. Long smiled at Su Ming and said, there is also a night bar you opened on this island. If it's convenient, can I have a drink with you? Su Ming shrugged. Night bar box. Long sat opposite Su Ming and said, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, it would be hard to imagine that the real owner of the night bar covering the entire first half of the grand voyage is just a young man under 20 years old. Su Ming rolled his eyes. If you keep chatting like this, then you'll have to pay for the drinks. Long laughed, put down his glass, and his expression gradually became serious. I've been to Ohara Island. Su Ming narrowed his eyes. Then what? Long said in a deep voice. I have many feelings. Can people really be happy living under the rule of such a world government? I was once influenced by the old man and thought about becoming a Marine, but after seeing what the world government did. Su Ming, I know about you. You are different from other Marines. You are capable, smart, and not blindly loyal to the world government. Since your rise, you have basically never worked for the world government. I believe you must feel that this is unfair. I want to hear your unique insights. How can we put this world back on track and towards happiness? Su Ming. Circle dot operator hollow down pointing triangle circle dot operator. Su Ming looked confused. Well, can I say that the reason I didn't work for the world government was simply because I wanted to be lazy? If you say so, this ambitious young man in front of you will definitely be so angry that he will vomit blood. But then again, if Long formed a revolutionary army, it wouldn't seem to do him any harm. On the one hand, it can put pressure on the world government, and on the other hand, it can gain another big customer. Even if the revolutionary army really overthrows the world government one day, he can still rely on this relationship to live his own life in peace and then go to the revolutionary army to fish. Thinking of this, Su Ming's mind suddenly opened up. Looking at Long, Su Ming coughed twice. Long, have you heard of this saying? A single spark can start a prairie fire. People around the world who yearn for freedom should unite. The power of one person is limited after all, but the power of the collective is unlimited. Long's eyes lit up, as if he had thought of something. He stood up and bowed deeply to Su Ming. Thank you for your advice, Mr. Su Ming. I wonder if you are willing to fulfill this dream with me. Su Ming shook his head. It's not time yet. As he spoke, Su Ming took out a business card from his pocket. This is my personal contact information. If you encounter any difficulties, you can contact me. Of course, the fee will still be charged, you know. Long carefully handed over his lucky card. I understand. This is to avoid suspicion from the world government. Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Su Ming. Chapter 76. Open the door. I am your uncle. Hey, it looks like you guys are having a great time chatting. Garp's voice sounded outside the room. Su Ming stood up calmly. Long also stood up, his words and actions full of respect for Su Ming. Garp gave Long a strange look. Are you okay? Long shook his head. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Garp waved his hand impatiently. Go away, you just keep annoying me. Garp was quite helpless towards his son. Initially, Garp wanted to train him to be an outstanding Marine commander. Originally this kid was quite obedient, but suddenly one day, when he went out, he somehow changed his mind. Garp beat this guy up a lot for this. This kid is so mysterious all the time. Garp sighed and turned to glance at Su Ming. You are better. Although you like to be lazy, you have become a Marine after all. Since you two have something in common, please help me persuade him when you have time and get him on the right path. Su Ming blinked his innocent eyes and said, Don't worry, old man. I will definitely persuade him to get on the right path. Garp nodded. Well, I feel relieved that you can persuade him. Su Ming smiled awkwardly and didn't say anything else, changing the subject. Have you seen Roger's child? Garp's expression changed slightly, and he sighed secretly. Well, I've checked it out, it's settled, the rest is up to you kid. I don't know how to decide, so let him make his own choice. Su Ming raised his eyebrows. Does that mean I should go talk to him now? Garp nodded. Okay, you old man, remember what you promised, otherwise your salary next month will be delayed. Garp. Without waiting for Garp to take action, Su Ming dodged and ran out of the bar. Garp snorted. This brat, now he dares to threaten me. Damn it, he even wants to deduct my salary. I will definitely deal with you when I get back. Although he cursed fiercely, as he cursed, a smile slowly appeared at the corner of his mouth. Which teacher would not be pleased when his disciples are already capable of standing on their own? Hello, old man, please settle the bill for this box. The two gentlemen just spent a total of 257,000 Baileys. Garp. Su Ming, come back here and pay the bill before you leave. Su Ming was no longer seen outside the bar. Garp turned to the waiter and asked, what kind of wine did they drink? Why is it so expensive? The waiter explained with a smile, the two gentlemen didn't drink much, mainly because they both packed several bottles of their collection of wine when they left. Garp. Advertisement. ... Windmill Village, on the back of the island. Su Ming, wearing a black marine uniform, came to a somewhat shabby hut. Bang, bang, bang. Ace, come out, Ace, I'm your uncle. Inside the house, opposite the bandit Dayton sat a child who looked about 3 or 4 years old. The children in the Pirates King world seem to mature early, and Ace himself is a late-born baby, so although he is young, he can think independently about many things. Outside the door, Su Ming's voice kept coming in. Ace frowned, his face flushed with anger. Hateful. While Dayton was not paying attention, he grabbed an iron rod, jumped off the dining table and rushed out. The door suddenly opened and an iron rod came down on Su Ming's face. Su Ming moved his hand casually, and the iron rod was in his hand. Then he hooked it lightly, passed it through Ace's vest, and lifted him up. Ace. The bandits Dayton and his gang in the house were startled. Let him go. Do you know who he is? He is the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. Dayton said nervously. Su Ming took a glance and saw that Dayton had not gained weight yet, but some wrinkles could be seen on his face. Apart from these, she would have been a beauty a dozen years ago. Su Ming smiled and said, Don't be nervous, I didn't lie to you, I was the one that the stinky old man called over. I am his apprentice and he is your grandfather, so you have to call me uncle. Ace was stuck on the iron bar and kept struggling. Who is his grandson? Let me go, you damned guy. Su Ming raised his eyebrows. Oh, haven't reached an agreement yet. Humph, my name is Portgas D. Ace and I'm not his grandson. Su Ming smiled slightly, and the thunder from his waist suddenly came out of his body. Swish. A cold light flashed across the hill behind him. The wind seemed to stop at that moment. The next second, the mountaintop 1,000 meters away began to slide slowly like a mudslide. Gurgle. Seeing this scene, Dayton's bandits and Ace couldn't help swallowing. Advertisement. What kind of monster is this? It flattened a mountain with just one sword. Su Ming smiled and put lacy on Ace's neck. The cold blade made him dodge involuntarily. Well, what should I call you now? At this moment, in Ace's eyes, the horror behind Su Ming, who was smiling with narrowed eyes, was like an abyss. Uncle, Ace said with difficulty. Yeah, that's right. Su Ming laughed, sheathed his sword, put Ace down, turned to look at Dayton again. Well, my nephew and I have something to talk about alone, you guys. Dayton and his group quickly made way for Su Ming. Let's go for a walk now. My goodness, this young man looks even scarier than Garp. It was scary enough when Garp threatened by throwing cannonballs with his hands before, and now someone comes along who can flatten the mountain with one knife. Is babysitting for children such a dangerous job nowadays? Only Su Ming and Ace were left in the cabin. Although Ace had surrendered verbally, his body had clearly not given in yet. He hugged his shoulders, pouted, and didn't even look at Su Ming. Su Ming didn't care either. Boy, judging from your appearance, you know your own life story. Ace's expression changed slightly. Tisk, I said my name is Portgas D. Ace. Su Ming shrugged and sighed. Oh, what a naughty child. In this case, I won't beat around the bush. I have a way to allow you to live without the influence of Gall D. Roger. The price is that you will never be able to bear this name again in your life. But you seem to hate this name, so it suits you just fine. What do you think? Su Ming sipped his tea slowly and said calmly. Pa, this crappy tea smells like old rice husks. Now that he has money, Su Ming's taste for food has gradually become more refined. Ace on the opposite side lowered his head, with a look of confusion on his face. Obviously, he didn't really not care about Roger, otherwise he wouldn't have to explain it to everyone. After all, he is my biological father. Su Ming stood up and said, you have 3 days to think about it. Feel free to tell Garp when you have thought it through. After saying that, Su Ming did not linger and turned around and walked out of the cabin. Outside the door, Dayton and his gang stood straight, like soldiers being inspected. Su Ming shook his head and disappeared into the forest. Chapter 77 Khalifa. The 3 days passed quickly. Su Ming and Garp stood at the port, looking in the direction of the garbage mountain in Windmill Village. Garp had a complex expression, a mixture of worry and relief. Su Ming raised his eyebrows slightly. Old man, there's no need to wait. The boy has already made a decision. Garp sighed and said, let's go. Since he has made his decision, I respect his choice. Garp said no more and got on the boat. Su Ming smiled and looked towards the dense forest in the distance. With the perception of both him and Garp, they had already discovered that Ace was hiding there. But some things are destined to be chosen by the parties involved. Su Ming shook his head and turned to board the boat. Leisurely days always pass quickly. In just 1 year, under Su Ming's continuous management, night bar completely covered the first half of the Grand Line. Night bars can be found on every island where people live. In the minds of the first half of the Grand Line sailors, night bar is no longer just a bar, but more like a coordinate. Every time they arrive at an island, they first go to the night bar to have a drink and then inquire about the news on the island. This has become the default procedure for almost every sailor. This made Su Ming earn a lot of money and also gained a lot of information. On this day, it was getting dark outside Marineford. Su Ming sat in the office, wiping the lacy out of boredom. The once silver-white blade had now turned purple-black and completely assumed the shape of Su Ming negation lower half-circle negation. On the opposite side, Kalina was busy sorting out the account books, looking like a capable female secretary. Suddenly, Su Ming thought of something and looked up at Karina. Has the Grand Line's intelligence organization begun to be established? Karina didn't look up, but just nodded and said, we have already started to organize it, but the progress is slow. Although most of the franchise owners of the bars have been replaced by our own people, they have not received systematic training, so the intelligence collection still seems a bit amateurish. During this year, Su Ming had quietly replaced most of the franchisees of the night bar with people he had trained himself. It took some effort, but it was totally worth it. This not only prevents the world government from having any further plans, but also allows us to build our own intelligence network. Advertisement. If you want to hold a high position and still lead a stable life, an intelligence network is essential. But what Karina said is indeed a problem. It is not easy to train professional intelligence personnel, and a very complete training system is required. The world government is the best at this kind of thing, and even Su Ming doesn't have a better solution. At this rate, it will take an unknown amount of time for our intelligence network to be fully established. Su Ming was in distress. Karina, who was sitting opposite him, smoothed the hair around her ears, looked up at Su Ming with a firm look in her eyes, as if she had made some decision. Su Ming, I want to join world government. Puff. Su Ming almost sprayed a mouthful of tea on Karina's face. Ahem, what did you say? It's not that Su Ming didn't hear it clearly, it's mainly because he couldn't believe it. Although they have reached a cooperative relationship with the world government, they are still on guard against each other. Su Ming has always regarded Karina as his closest person. Now his closest person is going to defect to the enemy. Isn't this a bit sudden? Seeing Su Ming's weird expression, Karina rolled her eyes and said, what are you thinking? I joined the world government just to help you. The world government has a complete intelligence organization. If I can join, I can bring back the training methods there. Then the speed of establishing your intelligence network will be greatly accelerated. Besides, the industry is getting bigger and bigger now. I can't just be a bar owner, right? I really want to help you. Karina said seriously. Su Ming looked at the stubborn Karina and suddenly felt touched. This girl really only cares about herself. But he still shook his head and said, no, this is too risky. The world government guys are not so easy to talk to. If you must do it, you can ask someone else to do it. Before Su Ming could finish, Karina interrupted him. How can such an important matter as the intelligence network be handed over to outsiders? Karina left Su Ming speechless with just one sentence. She stuck out her tongue at Su Ming and smiled playfully. Don't worry, I've been prepared for this. I started dismantling my current identity and constructing a new one a year ago. Advertisement. No one will ever find out after such a long time. After hearing this, Su Ming realized that this girl had already thought about it. Erase your own identity and walk in the world with another name, just to help yourself. Su Ming stood up, took Karina's hand and held her in his arms. Silly girl. Thousands of words at this moment are not as good as a hug. A sweet smile appeared on Karina's flushed little face, and she leaned her head gently on Su Ming's shoulder, enjoying this rare moment. From now on, only you will know the name Karina. This is a secret between you and me. Su Ming nodded gently. By the way, I have to know what your new identity is. Karina raised her head and smiled at Su Ming. Next time we meet, you should call me Ms. Khalifa. Su Ming's pupils shrank. Caliph. Well, why doesn't this name sound nice? Karina hugged Su Ming's neck and looked at Su Ming's reaction strangely. Su Ming shook his head. No, it just sounds like the name of someone I know. Su Ming looked Karina up and down, and her image gradually overlapped with the image of Khalifa in his mind. Except that her temperament was a little more immature than that of Khalifa in the future, everything else was almost exactly the same. Su Ming finally understood that the girl who had been by his side since childhood was actually the future member of CP9, the mature and mature sister, Khalifa. It really can't be blamed on Su Ming's slow reaction in this matter. The main reason is that Khalifa is too young now, and the temperament of a mature queen has not yet emerged. In addition, Su Ming originally thought that Khalifa should be secretly cultivated by the world government, so he didn't think about it that way. Now it seems that it was me, the butterfly, that caused some effects. Khalifa, who should have been discovered by the world government, was picked up by me, which changed her original fate. Khalifa did not pay attention to Su Ming's words, and did not loosen her arms around Su Ming. Instead, she slowly pressed her pink and thin lips against Su Ming's lips. The soft and cool touch instantly swept over his body, and Su Ming understood Khalifa's feelings and did not reject them. The clouds in the sky slowly blocked out the moonlight. The two people who had depended on each other since childhood finally crossed that threshold and evaded the auditor's review system again and again, hollow down pointing triangle. The quiet night is deep and long. Chapter 78 Garp. Boy, do you have a dream. After saying goodbye to Su Ming, Khalifa quickly joined the world government as planned. Su Ming wasn't worried that she would suffer any loss. Now Khalifa has mastered the two-color hockey, and has never given up on physical skills and spearmanship. With her current strength, it should be no problem for her to deal with a rear admiral from the headquarters. Naval Headquarters, Office of the Secretary of Logistics. Su Ming, I know you are here, brat. Come out. Su Ming, who was sitting in the office slacking off, heard Garp's loud voice outside the door. Then, there was the sound of the door being kicked open. Su Ming pulled down the newspaper covering his face and looked at Garp lazily. Stinky old man, this door of mine is very expensive. It is made of top-quality Adam Bayomu. I am really losing out if you pay me 2 million Baileys. Garp glared at Su Ming and said, get lost, this is a normal office door. I don't know how many times Sengoku broke it. You want to use this to fool me? No way. Su Ming touched his nose awkwardly. If you say so, then I won't argue with you. Garp chuckled and said, get up, little brat. I have something serious to tell you. Su Ming curled his lips and sat up. What's the matter? Do you have a grandson again? Garp was stunned. What are you talking about? Su Ming smiled mysteriously. Haven't you noticed that dragons are always heading to East Blue recently? Garp suddenly realized, damn. This brat didn't even tell me. No, let's deal with him later. I came here to bring you good news. Garp looked at Su Ming. You're going to be promoted, brat. Ah, Su Ming was stunned. Promotion. No, I'm fine being the logistics director here, I don't need a promotion. As he spoke, Su Ming slumped in his seat like actor Jay. Garp. Seeing Su Ming's appearance as a social loser, Garp's forehead was filled with black lines. Garp took a deep breath and said, Su Ming, don't you have any dreams? Sitting on the chair, Su Ming suddenly opened his eyes and his expression became extremely serious. Yes, of course I have a dream. Garp's spirits lifted. It's a good thing to have dreams. As long as there are dreams, this kid can still be saved. Advertisement. Tell me, boy, what is your dream? Su Ming slowly stood up from the chair, lowered his head and supported himself with his hands. My dream. Su Ming suddenly raised his head, extremely excited, and shouted loudly, to gain something without working, to enjoy the fruits of others' labor, to receive rewards without any merit, to ascend to heaven overnight, this is my life dream. Garp. Nishiuchi. He finally understood that his disciple's skills were completely ruined. Garp, who was angry, sat back in his chair and it took him a while to calm down. Stinky boy, let's get down to business. Marshal Sora has been transferred to the world government as the commander-in-chief of the entire army. Sengoku will take over as the new Marine Marshal. At the same time, Kuzan, Sakazuki, and Borsalino are promoted to new Marine Admirals. Su Ming nodded. Isn't this all obvious? Sengoku was promoted to Marshal, and you and Zephyr are both semi-retired. This has nothing to do with me. Isn't it good for me? Garp rolled his eyes. And according to the latest order, the world government has created a position specifically for you, the Commander-in-Chief of Marine Logistics. As for the military rank, it is equivalent to Vice Admiral, but the authority is much greater than that of an ordinary Vice Admiral. He can control the military expenses of the Admiral. Su Ming's eyes lit up again. This is a good relationship. Last time, Su Ming helped old man Garp to persuade Ace, and he has been thinking about this matter since he came back. As a result, the handover between Sengoku and Sora was delayed again, and now it has finally been implemented for me. I looked at my own slacking spots. 960,000, and with another 40,000 you can take part in an epic lottery. This is something I have been looking forward to for a long time. Looking at the excited Su Ming, Garp was furious. What a loser. The award ceremony will be in 3 days. Prepare yourself. Garp said and stood up and left Su Ming's office. Soon after, Kuzan, Sakazuki, and Borsalino also received news that they were going to be promoted. 3 days later, at the central playground of the naval headquarters. Except for the necessary guards, all other Marines gathered here. On the platform, Sora, Sengoku, Zephyr, and several members of the world government looked at the Marines below. The conferment ceremony has officially begun. Just as agreed, he was promoted to the commander-in-chief of the entire army, which was a promotion in name only but a demotion in reality, and he went straight to enjoy his retirement. Advertisement. Sengoku was appointed Marine Marshal, which was popular among the people. Looking at the high-spirited Sengoku, Su Ming shook his head secretly. Marine Marshal is not an easy position. Su Ming's movements were very light, but Sakazuki still noticed them. Ever since the incident with beating Ohara, Sakazuki has been keeping an eye on Su Ming. Sakazuki felt unhappy seeing this guy slacking off at the naval headquarters all day. But this guy is protected by Garp, so it is difficult for me to do anything to him. Now that I have become an admiral, I have finally gotten the chance. Humph, some people spend their entire lives just hanging around at the colonel level. Su Ming raised his eyebrows and looked at Sakazuki. He found that he was also looking at him and smiled slightly. Does Admiral Akainu have any problem with me? Sakazuki snorted coldly. Yes, what? Do you still want to deduct the Admiral's military funds? Although Su Ming is the Minister of Logistics, he is not yet able to manage the Admiral's military expenses. Knowing this for sure, Sakazuki dared to express his dissatisfaction to Su Ming so clearly. Kuzan looked at Sakazuki and opened his mouth to remind him. However, before Kuzan could say anything, Sakazuki said, Kuzan, you don't have to say it. Even if he is in charge of the Marine's military expenses now, he has no right to deduct the Admiral's money. Humph, I know you have a good relationship with him, but I can't stand this kid. Kid, don't fall into my hands again. Sakazuki's words were full of threats. Seeing this, Kuzan stopped talking and shook his head secretly. Borsalino put his hands in his pockets, looking like he was watching a show. Su Ming smiled at Sakazuki the whole time and said, yes, Admiral Akainu is right. I do not have the authority to manage the Admiral's military expenses now. Sakazuki snorted smugly. As soon as the voice fell, the staff of world government on the stage spoke again, specially appoint Marine Logistics Minister Su Ming and promote him to the position of Commander-in-Chief of Marine Logistics, in charge of all military and living expenses of the Marine. Su Ming still had a smile on his face. He turned to look at the dumbfounded Sakazuki and said, well, Admiral Akainu, what a coincidence. Now I can manage your military expenses. After that, Su Ming shouted to his Marine who was not far away, well, the Marines are short on military spending recently, and the 3 admirals have no military activities, so we will delay the payment of their salaries. Admiral Aokiji and Admiral Kizaru will be delayed for 1 day. Admiral Akainu, well, let's just postpone it for a year. Yes, we should treat everyone equally and not make any special arrangements. On the side, Kuzan stepped forward and patted the dumbfounded Sakazuki. I wanted to tell you just now, knowing that you and Su Ming have a bad relationship, they didn't remind you that Su Ming will also be promoted this time. Chapter 79. You are my dearest friend, so you have to pay more. Ignoring the dumbfounded Sakazuki, Su Ming hummed a tune and walked back to his seat. If you have money, you can do whatever you want. Ding. Congratulations to the host for his promotion to Vice Admiral. He can get 2,000 slacking points per hour when not working. Host's current slacking points are 1.001 million. Do you want to redeem for an epic lucky draw? Closing square bracket. Su Ming's eyes lit up. Exchange. This is an epic lottery, and it's my first time trying it. Unlike the previous draws, a golden bubble appeared in front of Su Ming's eyes that only he could see. Host, please open the epic prizes by yourself. Close black lens bracket. Su Ming tried to touch the golden bubbles with his hand. As a burst of golden light dissipated, a design drawing appeared in Su Ming's mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for receiving an epic reward, the Scientific Side Self-Built Satellite Railgun Design Blueprint. Closing square bracket. Scientific Side Self-Built Satellite Railgun Design. according to the design, you can build a super satellite railgun. The power depends on the energy consumption. The maximum power can reach the planetary level. At the same time, you can build a monitoring system for precise strikes. Close black lens bracket. Listening to the system's voice, Su Ming took a while to react. Wow, isn't this an upgraded version of Uranus? This thing is a bit unfair. No, this super satellite orbital cannon is far superior to the three major ancient weapons. If I could really figure it out myself, like celestial dragons, Lousy would be a god. But Su Ming's excitement did not last long. After seeing the materials and resources needed on the design blueprint, Su Ming quickly calmed down. Although the design blueprint on the scientific side does not require manpower to build, it can be completed instantly as long as there are enough materials. But this thing consumes a huge amount of resources. Su Ming made a rough calculation and thought that if he wanted to build this thing, he would have to convert the resources into Baileys, which would be about several hundred billion. With that much money, you can build an ancient weapon Pluton and drive it as a yacht. I said system, can this thing be returned? Isn't it more painful when good things can be seen but not touched? Ding. The system rewards you draw are not refundable. Su Ming, how about you lend me the materials first, and I'll search for celestial dragons and return them to you when I have the materials. Ding. Sorry, this system does not provide lending services. Closing square bracket. Advertisement. If the host feels that the current building materials consumption is too high, the Epic Design Blueprint also has a simplified version for the host to use initially. The design materials will be relatively reduced, but at the same time the disadvantage is that the maximum power cannot be exerted. If there is enough material, it can be upgraded again. Closing square bracket. Based on the current world, the maximum power of the simplified version is enough to annihilate a large kingdom. Closing square bracket. Hope rekindled in Su Ming's heart, and he hurried to check again. I found that just as the system said, this epic design blueprint also has a simple construction version. The consumption has been reduced a lot, probably only a few hundred trillion Baileys. Although it is still a bit daunting, there is hope after all. Su Ming felt much more comforted. It seems that in addition to slacking off, I have to work harder to make money in the future. The awarding ceremony ended quickly, and everyone except Sakazuki was very happy. With a goal in mind, Su Ming also began to consider further expanding his business scope. And it's not enough to just operate alcoholic beverages, other businesses must also be controlled. Needless to say, the 4 Cs is inevitable. In addition to the 4 Cs, the New World is also a place that one must set foot in. A large amount of the world's resources are gathered there. Time passed little by little, and the promotion to Commander-in-Chief of the Logistics Department did not bring much change to Su Ming's life. It's time to slack off, so to it, it's time to practice. In the bar training area, Su Ming wiped the sweat from his forehead. Check your own panel. Open black lens bracket host. Su Ming close black lens bracket. Talent. Extraordinary physique, mystic eyes of death. Swordsmanship. Great swordsman, black sword. Observation hockey. Advanced foreseeing the future. Armament color. High-level emission. Conquerors. Advanced conquerors entanglement. Thunder god fruit. Proficiency can switch between 3 forms, freely master the power of thunder and lightning. Skills. Ghost sword, Elbaf spear, Marine 6 styles, life return, 6 king's gun, thunder god martial body. Open black lens bracket logging point. 3.2 million close black lens bracket. More than half a year has passed since the conferring ceremony, and Su Ming has successfully improved his swordsmanship to the level of a great swordsman. If he can go one step further, he will reach the realm of a supreme great swordsman, the realm that all swordsmen dream of. It is a great improvement. As for hockey, Su Ming's observation hockey can reach a distance of 5,000 meters and predict the future. Advertisement. The same is true for armament hockey, which can easily cover the entire body, making the attack and defense stronger. Combined with his own physique, Garp cannot even break the defense without using his full strength. But no matter which type of hockey it seems to have reached a bottleneck. It is just a quantitative change, but no qualitative change. Maybe there will be a way to solve it once my system opens up the next level of permissions. In terms of skills, Marine 6 styles has already mastered the highest level, and the next step in fruit ability is the awakening level. It can be said that Su Ming is now a true hexagonal warrior. There are absolutely no shortcomings in attack power, defense power, endurance, recovery power, fruit ability and financial resources. Okay. On the table, the Den Den Mushi rang. Looking at the Den Den Mushi with a slipper print on its face, Su Ming frowned. After a slight hesitation, he finally chose to pick up the phone. Hey, Long, you are so brave. A general of the Revolutionary Army called me, a high-ranking Marine. On the other end of the Den Den Mushi, Long smiled. A year ago, not long after meeting Su Ming, Long had an epiphany and founded a revolutionary army. Now the revolutionary army has begun to emerge in various parts of the world and has been noticed by the world government. I thought Long must be very busy at this time, but I didn't expect that this guy actually had time to call me. Sir Su Ming, I apologize for calling you without permission, but we really need your help right now. We have formed a group of people who want to liberate the First Kingdom, but we have no weapons in our hands. I guess you have it, so. Beside Long, a group of revolutionary army cadres were staring at Long, or rather, the Den Den Mushi in Long's hand, with a nervous look on their faces. After a moment, Su Ming's voice came out through the Den Mushi. Long, you have to know that first a Marine, from the world government. You are asking me to deal with my old employer. Hearing this, Long looked a little depressed. Just when I was about to hang up the phone, another sentence came from the Den Mushi. It costs more. The dragon on the other end of the Den Mushi almost fell to the ground. He laughed dryly and said, don't worry about that, Master Su Ming. As long as you can provide enough weapons, we guarantee to give you a satisfactory price. Su Ming hung up the Den Mushi with satisfaction, thought for a moment, and took out another Den Mushi from the room. Hey, 5 elders, I heard that the Revolutionary Army has received a new batch of arms recently. Do you want to get some weapons too? Yes, I have it in stock. What, are you afraid that I will cheat you? You must be joking. We are close friends and brothers now. Chapter 80 Sengoku calls, Mariajoy is attacked. As the intelligence network matured, Su Ming's business gradually became more prosperous. It was no longer just alcoholic beverages that were sold, but also some arms. In this world, weapons and firearms can be sold normally. After making a profit from both the Revolutionary Army and the 5 elders, Su Ming was in a good mood. After hanging up the Den Mushi, Su Ming had nothing to do, so he decided to go to Sengoku to get some snacks. It's not that I can't afford it, it's mainly because the taste is different without spending any money, especially when I see Sengoku's depressed expression. The little rice cake in my mouth has a different flavor. On the way to the Sengoku office, Marine and Su Ming kept greeting us. Hello, Commander Su Ming. Hey, Su Ming, long time no see. Let's have a drink together when I come back from this mission. Wow, that's Officer Su Ming. He looks so young. I heard that he and Vice Admiral Dion. Facing those who greeted him, Su Ming always smiled, regardless of their status, without any airs. Now Su Ming is well known for his good popularity in Marine. Since he took over the Marine's military expenses, the Marine's treatment has increased dramatically, which has also greatly increased his popularity in the Marine. Now, when recruiting for naval headquarters, you may not know who the Marshal is, but you must know who the Chief Logistics Officer is. Bump. The door to Marshal Sengoku's office was kicked open. My feet don't feel right. Old man Sengoku, did you change the door again? Behind the desk, Sengoku looked at Su Ming who had barged in, gritting his teeth in anger. Su Ming. Can't you and Garp learn something? This master and disciple pair are truly his nemesis. In front of these two people, Sengoku feels that the Marine Marshal has no dignity at all. Su Ming's eyes looked around the office and finally locked onto the sofa. He turned and gave Sengoku an unkind smile. Sengoku's heart skipped a beat, but he tried to remain calm. Su Ming sat down on the sofa without any hesitation, and casually reached into the gap between the sofa and took out a package of unopened rice cakes. A vein popped in Sengoku's forehead. Damn it, did this guy plan to spy on me? He hid so secretly but was still discovered. Su Ming chuckled. Old Sengoku, your method of hiding things is not good, it's not original, how can you hide it from my teacher? Advertisement. Su Ming tore open the package directly, leaned back on the sofa and started eating happily with a smug smile on his face. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have successfully slacked off in your boss's office during work hours, triggering a random reward. For the current 2 hours, the slacking off reward will be doubled, 4,000 points per hour. Behind his desk, Sengoku was so angry that he couldn't speak. He simply decided to ignore it and continued to correct documents. After finishing a bag of snacks, Su Ming looked around and asked, Old Sengoku, is that stinky old man Garp not at the headquarters recently? Sengoku didn't look up. I took a long vacation and went back to East Blue. Su Ming was stunned for a moment, then realized that he seemed to have gone back to see his grandson. Calculating the time, Luffy should be born soon. Suddenly Su Ming's eyes lit up, he thought of something and touched his chin. I only have 8 hours of slacking time every day when I work in the Marine Corps, but if I ask for leave, can I get more time, making it 24 hours? Ding! When taking a leave to slack off, the host can get 1,000 more slack off points per hour, up to a maximum of 10 hours per day, for a total of 30,000 points. It really works. Su Ming was excited. Marshal Sengoku, I would like to ask for leave as well. Sengoku looked up at Su Ming. Why did you ask for leave? Su Ming said seriously, I have been working in naval headquarters for more than half a year without a break. Shouldn't I take a vacation? Bang. The pen in Sengoku's hand was broken by a sudden squeeze. How dare you say that? You slack off at work every day, which is more relaxing than my vacation. How dare you ask for leave? Su Ming was not to be outdone. Hey, do you think it's easy to sit in the office and do nothing all day? Sengoku gritted his teeth. What else? Su Ming crossed his arms and acted like a rogue. I don't care. I want to take a leave anyway. I've been working for more than half a year and I need a rest. Sengoku was so angry that he was shaking. You are going too far. Get lost. Go wherever you want. I don't care. Anyway, Su Ming doesn't participate in any overseas activities at the headquarters, so it doesn't really make any difference whether he takes leave or not. But Su Ming said with a serious face, no, you have to approve my leave. If I, such an excellent Marine commander, leave on my own, wouldn't it be considered skipping work? You are such a bad old man. It's easy for you to use this to ruin my reputation and make the Marines think I'm a lazy person at work. Sengoku glared at Su Ming fiercely. With your current reputation, do you still need me to ruin it? Advertisement. In the end, Sengoku couldn't persuade Su Ming and approved a 1-year leave application for Su Ming. Su Ming then left the office contentedly. As soon as I went out, I saw an acquaintance, Admiral Kizaru. Hey, Su Ming. What are you doing? Su Ming smiled confidently and waved the leave application in front of Kizaru. Seeing Su Ming holding a full year's leave slip in his hand, Kizaru was suddenly envious. Dig it in. How do you do that? Su Ming put his arm around Kizaru's shoulders and whispered in his ear. Marshal Sengoku is in a good mood today. I guess good things are coming. It's perfect to take leave now. I haven't told anyone else this news, I'm just telling you one. Kizaru understood and nodded. Okay, I understand. Well, go quickly, it will be too late if you are late. A moment later, a roar came from Sengoku's office. Get lost. If anyone asks me for leave again, I will send him to the calm belt and make him accompany the Sea Kings. Su Ming ran away and shook his head. Tisk, at this age, you are still so angry. With the leave application, Su Ming did not plan to stay in the headquarters any longer. Taking advantage of this time, Su Ming plans to go to the Saboti Islands, which is the only way to enter the second half of the Grand Line and has a huge market. However, Su Ming had only been in the Saboti archipelago for less than a month. In the middle of the night, a rapid telephone ringing woke Su Ming up. Hey, Su Ming. Where are you now? Den Mushi asked anxiously, imitating Sengoku. Su Ming frowned. I'm in Saboti archipelago now. In Den Mushi, Sengoku breathed a sigh of relief. Great, Su Ming. The Holy Land of Marijoy has been attacked, and now the three admirals are too far away from there. Only you can get there as quickly as possible. Quick, no matter what, we must intercept the man who attacked the Holy Land. We must not let him escape. The three admirals will rush over now. After saying that, Sengoku hung up the Den Mushi without waiting for Su Ming to reply. Su Ming looked at the Den Mushi in his hand. Holy Land Marijoy, so it seems that the Fishman Fisher Tiger has boarded the Red Line. Ding! Congratulations to the host. The mission has been triggered. Capture the Fishman Fisher Tiger. The mission period is 10 hours. During the mission, if you slack off, you can get 100,000 slack points per hour. Su Ming showed an unkind smile on his face. If I can catch a fish scale today, it will be considered that I, Su Ming, will not slack off.